been vaccinated? Oh, you have.
Yes.
Ooh, you haven't.
You
Are you fighting
Josh,
against it then, Josh?
Josh Spreadneck.
Under duress, isn't it? Right.
Right. Yeah. It's more like
You said
I
it.
think it's more like a gene therapy thing. Right.
You can still catch
You
it.
still can catch it
You
and
still
still
catch
spread
it,
it.
still spread it.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Like you, I did have it, but I like you, I'm not too pleased and I got it because as you said, the way things are heading, life's gonna become pretty difficult if you don't. That's how it appears to be.
Yeah.
Yep, I did the same. Like I just did it out of pure selfishness. Like I don't give a shit about any of the COVID stuff, but I got it just so I can do other things that I want to do. Even though it doesn't seem like it matters right now. It's like, oh, you're vaccinated, still got to wear a mask, still got to stay home. But what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a weird
I
like groups that are attaching themselves to this vaccine now, and they're like going around and pressuring other like. Have you got your vaccine? It's like none of your business, bitch. Like, just settle down. I'm walking my dog. Just fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? They're like the vaccine like Gestapo. And they're out there like questioning people in the street and shit.
Yeah,
You know,
apparently that's one of the main questions now when you meet a potential partner.
Yeah.
That's one of the questions. Apparently, that's one of the main questions you want to know now. Have you
got it?
had your vaccine?
Have you had your vaccine?
Well,
Have you had both?
Andre, we discussed this a few weeks ago, didn't we, with regards to the morals? And you asked me if I would break wind.
I'm not quite sure.
You said you said would I break wind in front? Would I break wind in front of a woman on a date?
Yeah, I did ask that. Yes, I did ask that.
And my reply was absolutely, because if she can smell it, that means she ain't got COVID.
Oh yes, oh yeah, that's correct. I forgot. That's correct.
So he's all good.
Like it'd be rude not to now, right? Like kind of have to. Just to
Hi,
test.
my name's Easy.
Yeah. Anything? Nothing. You know, get out of here. I don't want to do this.
Don't get up in his ass for a minute.
Yeah, that's what I told my buddy. He had it and he couldn't taste shit for a while. I was like, well, that's got its advantages. You realize that, though?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Post gym time no longer matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and then it's like one window where it's okay.
So I got the vaccine because my wife was told by her doctor not to get it yet because some of the other issues that she's got going on. They're not sure how her immune system would react with it right now. It's just it's one of those things. Got some autoimmune stuff, but if once they started saying, well, if you're vaccinated, you're going to start wearing your mask or whatever, I just said, I'm fucking done with this shit now. Like I've played the game. If I walk into if I walk into a business and they have a sign posted that I see that says put a mask on, I will. But from here on out, I'm not putting a mask on anymore. I'm not getting a booster vaccine or anything like that. I mean, it's just
if it's a small mom and pop place, like a privately owned business, I'll throw a mask on if they ask. But if it's like a fucking Home Depot, fuck them.
So the way I get around it, and at least make sense of it in my own brain, is I just make sure that I avert my eyes when I walk in so I don't see a sign. That's the thing. I don't know. But my daughter had COVID last December, and she still lives at home with my wife and I. And so I've used this with multiple people as a thing when people say, like, masks don't do anything. Like, sure as fuck hell they do something. Because my wife and I, my daughter's in the house with a mask. She would come out of her bedroom, come get food, be in there, talk to us for a minute, go back. And when she came out of her bedroom, my wife and I would throw a mask on. She'd come out, talk to us for a minute. She'd go back to her room, we take the mask off, and neither of us ever had COVID.
It doesn't prove that the masks work.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
There's one test that they've done.
My daughter had COVID as well.
Did you wear a mask?
Scientist, you don't know.
Domestic. We have a domestic.
Yeah, like
yeah. My daughter had COVID as well, but she took it more serious than we did. She shunned us. She didn't want to be around us, and if she came downstairs, we didn't really run for masks or anything like that. But she would come down with a mask, and
Hazmat suit.
yeah, and the 2 weeks passed. She seemed fine. And what did you say? Easy?
Hazmat suit. You know, the big old yellow hazmat suits.
No, not
Yeah.
quite. But yeah, after the 2 weeks or whatever it was, it was all over, and we went back to normal. So, but she seemed fine. She didn't. I think she had a bit of a cough, but nothing serious.
Yeah, my daughter had a couple of days where her throat was hurting really bad. She ran a fever for a few days and a little cough, and that was about it. So
The dude that I work with was fucking bad. He got COVID. And
yeah, my mom was.
he was out for like a good week and a half. He was
Yeah,
still
my
miserable.
brother was. My brother got beat up with it.
Isn't that the
I've had
like-
about 20 people total in my family, between my family and my wife's family. I've had about 20 different people that have had COVID at some point. But
See, I
never have.
kind of hoped I would get it just so I could be more judgmental towards other people. Like,
Right.
I've had COVID. What the fuck are you crying about, bitch? but I haven't gotten it, so you know.
All right.
yeah,
that's
So-
just,
So about you,
how-
Josh? Anybody in Australia?
nah, man.
Or is it still pretty rare out there, isn't it?
Like where I am, definitely. Like it's not super common. Like people aren't really dying from it here. Like I think we had one death last week, but he was like 90, and he had like a ton of like pre-existing conditions, and like that. I think that sentence is going to set people off. And they're like, you know, on both sides, like on both sides, you know,
Yeah.
and they were calling it like
He
a
had good- he
COVID
had a good
death, and you're
innings. He
like,
had a good innings.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you got one foot,
Uh-huh.
you got one foot in the grave, brother. Like there was just like a little shove.
I don't think I'm pretty sure that being old is a pre-existing condition.
it is.
That's
When
right.
you're
Like,
90, it's no
that's-
longer a tragedy when you fucking die.
What is?
Well, I guess it is for the guy who died, though.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Well, I mean,
you know, it sucks, but
what did he lose? Maybe a half a
His
year off
life.
of his life because of COVID.
yeah, but that's I don't know. Yeah, like how do you approach that and not sound like an asshole though? It's like you had like 6 months left. Like let him go. Like just you know, I don't like. I think we had that conversation about the what was his name, Prince Philip, and they just kept bringing him back. And you're like, just let the fucker go, man. Like, he's been dead for years. He was just a skeleton walking in the streets, man.
A racist skeleton.
Oh, he's the biggest piece of shit as well. He's like he's around for 200 years.
I wonder what he was thinking of his son, Andrew.
All right.
Is that
Go on, my
the?
son. Yeah, he must be quite proud of that one.
You know, for those of you who don't know, Andrew has been caught up in
I think everybody knows, doesn't they?
the Jeffrey Epstein thing.
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Did you guys watch
royal
the,
family have been caught up in the Jeffrey Epstein saga?
Did you watch a documentary?
Don't tell me you guys didn't know.
Oh, I knew. I saw the photos of it, and he's like his eyeballs are like this big, and he's like off his rocker, just like hanging off a 16-year-old like he's a rock star, and you're like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm a prince, don't you know?
Yeah,
I'm a prince.
That's a chat line.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
the irony of that is you know, 60
And
years
I'm not
ago,
even Nigerian. I'm a real.
I'm a
prince.
real prince. Yeah. Fucking hell, what a mess that family is, man. The blue bloods. Anyway,
I mean, I haven't heard anything about that as far as the Epstein thing goes, but I
Oh.
rarely watch mainstream news.
he was
So,
at well.
I
I,
think I'm like every other American. I get my news from Twitter. So
yeah, that's right. Whether it's right or wrong, you're getting it from there. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Yeah, fact checking's not a thing.
if it's on the internet, it
It has
got to be
real.
true, right?
Yeah,
you can't
that's
lie on the internet.
Josh, you are heartless.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I don't
It's
know who
just-
Janine
I'm sorry.
Roach is.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, Janine.
someone on our end.
Is it?
Wow.
What, wait, hold up. Was it for the pedo comment or was it for the old dude dying comment?
I think
Probably
the
just in
oldest-
general, mate. You know, take a pick.
Yeah. That's right. I'm sorry.
Because you're
Oh,
you.
oh,
Because
I've
you're
had a
you.
mouthful of drink. I'm rowdy as shit. I'm ready to
All
go.
I'm saying is 100 years ago, you guys would probably all be married to 14-year-olds. That's just,
Okay.
you know, how it works.
The good old days.
I think now's the time to change the subject, man.
All right.
Now's the time to change the subject.
How about-
There's not many subjects that scare me.
But
There's
how
not
do
many
you,
subjects that scare me, but that is one.
How did you guys not?
Okay. No. Here's a question. Andre's always bringing shit up.
shit.
So, does it's something that was like a modern construct of morality, right? Does that mean it was immoral at the time, or does that just mean we've societally evolved where it's immoral now, but where they were then, as far as evolutionary wise, was it wrong then?
I think it was wrong then, but nobody realized it.
Beat me to it. Exactly.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
right.
wrong then.
Yeah.
But nobody.
Well, do you not think like maturity level and growth? Because like even say 40 years ago,
No, like you can say
No,
like,
I'm
but
saying,
isn't this like every like weeb dude who's like 40 that lives with his mum? Like, I want a 12-year-old, and it's about maturity. But you look at like a 12-year-old girl, and you're like, "Fuck, that is young."
Yeah.
Like that is
No,
it
what
is,
I
like
mean
it's
Yeah.
is 100
disgusting.
years ago, you'd have 14-year-old kid running a fucking household, running a farm, going to work. Like it was a much different utilitarian thing.
Yeah,
And that's or like even in the 60s, like it was like parents encouraged their 16, 17-year-old daughters to date a college kid because it meant they had a future and they'd be taken care of. It was just a very different mindset.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my co-host Brigham Young.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just curious.
No, I got you.
I guess like it was like morally justified. You know what I mean? Like some old dusty dude. You know how they get all sensitive when they're like, you know, like a guy's get a new girlfriend and the girl's like, well, I've slept around a bit. And the guy's like, oh, like how could you? And he's like, let's buff out that problem by getting them when they're 8. You know what I mean? Like, that was like that's old dusty ass man mentality. Like there's no time where it's like morally correct. It's like they've morally justified it in their head because they're sensitive about women sleeping with people. Like
Well,
like a 12-year-old looks like a 12-year-old no matter if it's like fucking 400 years ago. They still look 12, man.
Well, I wasn't referring to like 12. I was thinking more of like 15, 16, like that middle age.
Still look 15, 16, I guess.
Well, I'm not sure that's much different though.
Yeah, right?
That's
12
not
and a
different.
15-year-old.
Yeah, that's not different. That's not different at all.
Like if you're a 40-year-old,
No, to be honest, I understand what Steve is saying.
yeah,
but,
I understand too.
No.
I mean, I feel like we look at that through a modern filter though, because at a time like, marriage was utilitarian. It wasn't about love. It wasn't necessarily about attraction. It was about fucking furthering your family
procreation.
line and
Yeah.
like securing family's future. Like it was a different mentality even on marriage. It wasn't about, oh fuck, that 16-year-old girl's hot, I'm gonna fuck the shit out of that ass.
I think
Like, it was
guys
a
a lot of
completely
times
different
like that.
Somebody clip that. That's going to be the clip for the start of the show.
I do think that the men back then there was a little bit more about attraction with them than,
Well,
the,
yeah, they
than the
wanted
women.
an
Yeah.
attractive woman, yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
But you had a lot of 16-year-old guys marrying 14-year-old girls, or even 18-year-old guys marrying 14-year-old girls. I
Right.
mean, because you were running, like Steven said, you're running a farm. You know, in the late 1800s, you're running a farm at 16,
And
17
the
years
more
old.
the more you breed, the more fucking labor you
That's
have
it.
on
That's
said
the thing.
farm.
You
Yeah.
have a kid, and then 10
I-
6 to 10
all right.
That's right.
To
You
sort of
have a
like
kid in 6 to 10 years, you got somebody that can go and milk the cows in the morning.
to
or
counter
whatever.
all
So,
of this, like, all right, so like times have changed, obviously. Why are these ultra rich men doing it now?
That's what I'm saying. That's completely.
You know what I
different.
mean?
just
But-
meant the general. Yeah.
In those circles, like obviously
Well,
there's a fair bit of them. Like,
Control.
like why
Control.
is it? Why is there like? Is it a resurgence? Has it always happened? Like, but why is it this like super elite? You know what I mean? These men that can
there's
have
always
everything.
pedophilia.
They've got everything at
Well,
their
I think
disposal in terms of like women as well. Like any woman they want, and they're like 15. Let's fuck with that.
That's right. That I think that's the thing is that they can have any adult woman they want strictly based on the fact they've got money. I shouldn't. I'm speaking in broad, you know,
Broad
generalized
strokes?
statements. Yeah, broad stroke. But you know, if you're Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or whatever, you've got more money than God, and if you go out to a bar or something, there's probably not any woman you can't take home just strictly based on them knowing
Your
you're
name.
rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they tend to gravitate toward the younger because
It
it's
doesn't
something they
apply.
can't have on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
Well, I think it's control too, because most of those girls I get,
That's what I think.
There's a whole traffic
Oh,
thing,
for
so,
sure.
so it's a power and control. Like
Like a
I get what I
grooming
want,
aspect.
regardless of anybody else's.
sure.
That's what I think. I think it's about control. I mean, these days, I mean, women are so empowered. I
Well, I think
they do as they
rape-
please.
Yeah.
rape in general, like rape in general, is a control thing, and it's a
Yep.
violent thing. It's not about love or lust, or it's
Yeah.
about control and getting what you want. Like
I don't
rape
think it's
is
about
like-
love at all, but it's absolutely about coming.
Lust. Not about
No,
lust, though.
most of it absolute
Not about
control
lust.
and domination.
It is
That's the end
That's
goal.
part of
It's
it.
power and control through sex.
sure. It's
Yes, yeah.
absolutely. I guess my thing is I've heard a lot of people say it's not a sex crime. It's not a crime of about sex or anything. It's like, no, it's no different than anything else. That's it. So think of it like this. If I break into a gas station, if I go into a gas station and rob the gas station, I mean, that's a crime of whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But if I jerk off on you at the end, it takes a completely different context. I'm understand. So it's absolutely a sex thing. It's absolutely about sex and about having an orgasm. It's just power and stuff mixed in with it.
That's
It
yeah.
is.
Boys,
Yeah, I think lust is in there somewhere. Lust is in there somewhere.
yeah, that's
So how come we're gonna have this conversation and don't bring up R. Kelly?
oh, dude, R.
see
Kelly.
the
Did you?
video
Oh, wait,
as
hold
well.
on. Before we bring up R. Kelly, do you know the one person that came to his defense? Bill Cosby. He was like, "Let him free."
Hold on.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Let
Josh
him
is correct. Go on,
let
Josh,
him,
tell him.
No,
let
Josh.
him free. You're like,
Yeah,
shut up, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Cosby said that R. Kelly was being set up.
Yeah,
Did he?
Yeah.
Got the same defense lawyer.
So what are we saying there? We're saying that Bill Cosby is
It's
guilty.
apparent-
Now,
it's
oh,
a
Bill
paragon of
Cosby was
virtue.
out there raping people, man. Like,
say again.
Bill Cosby was 100% raping people for sure.
Oh,
100%. Like, so many people.
He was a roofie king.
He was
a roofie king.
roofing people and raping them.
Yeah.
But all right, so with the R. Kelly thing, like he did it. Like it's incredibly apparent that he did it. Like there's no like ifs, ands, or buts. You know how like I think the Bill Cosby thing is like you can kind of like his defense is like they play it off as like they were taking drugs together or whatever it may be, and it's Bill Cosby and he's the biggest fucking comedian at the time. But R. Kelly was like actively grooming people. There's that one video that sort of came out, and he's in.
He filmed it.
Yeah, but he
He
was
filmed
in
himself.
he was in Africa, like singing to the women, and he was like, "If you got your passport and you got your shot, coming home with R. Kelly." You know what I mean? And these are like teenage girls and stuff, and everybody was like,
So
"We
were they-
love
were
your
they teenage
music,
girls?
man."
What did,
Weren't
so
they?
back to Bill Cosby.
That's the Australian mindset.
He married
Back
Aaliyah
to-
when she
back to Bill Cosby. Let me just say this. So if I've got a lot of power, I'm interviewing people, and I say to people or to women, good-looking women, look, if you sleep with me,
You got to specify the good-looking women, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Not
I'm
the
not gonna
uglies.
be ugly birds, am I?
get out.
Yeah, I'm gonna offer you this job.
yeah.
Is that right?
All right, but like, isn't that
You're
the
talking- is it rape?
isn't that
Yeah,
that
it's
that
not rape, it's
isn't that
power.
Weinstein thing where it's like he was kind of like, yeah, I got my dick out, but he's like they wanted to suck it because they wanted some work. Isn't it the same thing? Like,
Right.
at what point
I
is
can
it
put you in. I can put you in this film,
Yeah.
but I want something in return.
like? Does that make it correct?
I think-
Like, but like,
people-
Some
no,
people,
definitely-
some people
but-
might call that quid pro quo, but that's
definitely
that's
doesn't make it
coercion.
correct.
That's
And
Yeah,
that
but is
definitely
that-
doesn't make it
does
correct.
that-
I'm just asking, is it rape?
if you're still poor,
It's
like
not
if
rape, no.
you're poor and you steal some food, is it still theft? Like it's still breaking the law. If you're whipping your dick out in front of people, telling them
Yeah,
to
but
jerk it
that's
for
not
a job,
apples.
like
That's
that's
not apples to apples because
One, you're leaving choice in.
well, it's not. Yeah, it's not just that, but like if you steal food, regardless of whether you're poor, the other person didn't consent to the theft of the food. But if
yeah.
if to use Andre's example, if he says I have this job, if you have sex with me, you can have this
Yeah,
job.
but like
It's an abuse of power and it's
Of
wrong.
course.
It's not rape.
That's
Right, well,
morality.
that's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
but at what line
Yeah,
does that get blurred, right? So maybe like the first handful of girls, he sort of softballs it in. People just don't go from like nothing to 100, right? So and at what stage was it just expected? You know what I mean? Like they walk in the room, he's already got his dax off, and he's like, "Yeah, come give daddy some sugar." You know what I mean? And it's like it's in such a position that they have no choice to do it. You know what I mean?
Josh, are you part of the royal family? Because that sounded really too good.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Come on.
I don't think I'm allowed
on,
back in
Gargle,
the
with
UK ever again. I'm banned.
I absolutely think one's wrong, and like Steven said, it's moral. There's
It's morality versus legality. They're two
Right.
different things.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's an abuse of power, but it's not rape.
Right. That's
Too
why
many
I'm asking
things
the
are called
question.
rape nowadays that aren't rape, and I'm not trying to make light of rape. But there's a lot of, but too many lines are being. I say lines. Too many words are being redefined nowadays
That's right.
as well. I mean,
Yeah.
words are violence. No, it's not. Words aren't violence. I can only hurt your feelings with words.
For
If a
sure.
word could punch you in the face, there'd be a lot of fucking people suing me right now. So I said a lot of shitty things. to people.
Yeah.
It's
So then I go back to Bill Crosby then.
But he was like
Yeah,
actively
man,
like
Pitbull.
putting
Let it
stuff
go.
in their drink, though, wasn't he?
Oh, was he?
Like he was sneaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was roofing them.
he was
Yeah.
drugged.
All right. Okay.
But
Okay.
all right, hold on.
Wake up, didn't know where they were.
Here's the thing. So, what's her name? Cardi B used to do it as well, and everybody was like, "Good women." Like, so once again, where do we draw the line? Like, but Bill Cosby
Whoa,
obviously.
whoa! Oh, a second. Cardi
Cardi
B
B
used
do?
to getting
Do
people
what?
getting men drunk.
So what
When-
she
when
so
she
she
was,
used to be a stripper. So she used to take guys home, and go, "Look, I'll have sex with you. Like, you get your own like private show, drug them, steal all their shit, and then leave." Right? But then the guys obviously being like, "Yeah, I fucked a stripper, man."
They're
Like,
not-
but
yeah, they're
but
not gonna
reality.
report it because they don't want anybody to know, yeah.
But really, they got drugged, probably like raped, and she stole their shit. But then people were like, "You get him, girl." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get those. dudes.
Payback.
Take back the power. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about that before too, about like this balance, and as much as it, you'd think that people can just be like, well, we just want equality now. It boils down to like, because of how people are, nobody actually wants equality. They want
the upper hand.
They want the upper hand, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the pendulum, as women are getting more empowered, and rightfully so in a lot of areas, shit's gonna swing way the other fucking way. I mean, that's just how fucking people are.
Yeah, but then it balances out like towards the end. Like,
Eventually.
yeah, it definitely does. Like you look at any type of movement, there's a reaction, the overreaction, and then a correction, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so I don't know. Maybe R. Kelly should be free. Let him back out.
He definitely shouldn't.
He
be
definitely
free,
he
but,
should be.
yeah.
He should have been in jail. I don't know why it took so long to.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another thing. Here's another thing that I brought up with the with the R. Kelly thing. It's like all these parents were like actively shipping their kids there after like he was everybody knew he was doing it, and then R. Kelly would hit up like this teenagers' parents and go like, "Look, I'm gonna help your daughter out and make her famous," and they're like, "Fucking take her." Like,
Yeah.
obviously R. Kelly is wrong, but how much of the blame has to go on the parents, right? And the parents played this like blissful ignorance and like, yeah, but he was innocent. Like, he was married to a 15-year-old, man. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? So where does the blame place then? Like, how do you just look at one man and go like, you did it, but he was also like fed it, you know what I mean? And nobody said shit to him. Like, nobody stopped him from any of it.
I think it's the same. I mean, parents have to hold in like maybe not accomplices. What's the word I'm looking for? Abating? Not abating. Fuck, I don't know the term. But anyway,
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Abating. Yeah, abating.
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be charges against any parents that, if they can be proven that they knew abuse was going on, but they still did it anyway. To me, it's the same, and this might be
Michael Jackson.
Don't
yeah,
say
Michael
it.
Jackson's the same thing.
Michael Jackson didn't rape no kids. Get out of here. MJ didn't rape no
oldest
kids.
son-
Get the fuck out. There's no way.
My oldest son believes wholeheartedly that Michael Jackson did not do anything with those kids.
He didn't rape no
He
kids.
believes
man.
wholeheartedly. That's what my oldest son believes. My oldest son's
but
25.
my problem
He
is-
was on-
But he was sleeping in the same bed with kids, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but bro,
Yeah,
like, he
it's-
wasn't fucking them. There's no way.
That's what my oldest son will say.
He was also sleeping in bed with a monkey.
Yeah, that's right. Was he fucking monkeys? Definitely not.
Well,
Why are we
I
not?
don't know
Why are we
about
not?
that, but I
Where's
just think
Peter?
that
Where's?
as a grown up in the world that we're living in, especially the second time, common sense should have told him, don't do
Yeah.
it, regardless of
100%.
whether or not
But there's
Common
also,
sense.
there's
Being
also
sued-
like,
being
right,
sued the first time should have told him.
that's common sense
No.
though. And like
Being
you
sued
have
the
a
first time should have told him.
like a
That's what I
world
mean.
of
That's what I'm saying.
like a world of people
Yeah.
like in say in MJ's case, whether he did or not, like how many parents saw it as a meal ticket out? You know, these impoverished kids, they got like a little bit of a talent and they go, look, I can either make money off my child from getting famous through Michael Jackson, or I can sue Michael Jackson based on this thing that's going around. You know what I mean? Like, so regardless if you were sleeping with him or not, like there was busloads of kids being shipped to his house, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's borderline. I mean, it's again, I think it goes back to legality versus morality. Like, was it the right thing to do? No, but you can't prove that he actually fucking diddled those kids. So
Yeah, but you have to believe all victims.
you have to be, fuck, man, Jesus. I really do hope fucking R. Kelly just gets fucking fist blasted in his asshole for fucking years.
R. Kelly ain't gonna make it in jail, man. I reckon R. Kelly will die
Right
in
in his
jail.
You think so?
R.
What
Kelly's
everybody
gonna
said
die
about
in
Bill Cosby.
jail. Yeah, but Bill,
Yeah.
like kids is a different thing in jail, right? Like they
Yeah.
they don't fuck with that.
100%.
Well, so what do you guys feel about Bill Cosby being released?
That man should die in jail. What a piece of shit. but it's once again, it's like this ultimate power, and he ultimately abused it. But then he went that one further, where he's like, "I'm going to drug you and rape you." Like you should get
Right.
it.
I agree with everything you're saying,
Yeah.
and he should die in jail.
Some of that white jello.
He should die in jail. Now, this is a bit of an unpopular opinion, at least on people I've had this conversation with. Is he absolutely should be out of jail right now as well?
And that's what you mean on the technicality.
Legally, he should be out of jail, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Morally,
Right.
he should absolutely die in jail.
Mm.
But he made a deal with the prosecution. The prosecution made a deal with him,
Yep.
and then they went back on that deal, and
Yeah.
that got him put in jail.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't be allowed to go back on a deal if you're the prosecution. Otherwise, there's no incentive to ever, if you're in the mob or whatever, and you
Yeah,
go
so-
turn
yeah.
turn state's evidence or
But
whatever.
the irony of that is, as a cop, you're 100% allowed to lie to somebody.
Yeah.
you're
Exactly.
interviewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
You're
you
allowed
should
to
be
lie
allowed
to get information. Yeah.
It's double. That's fucking legal system double standard. If you want,
Sure.
Mhm.
But one is in a court of law where you absolutely are going to get put in jail for, and the other one's not.
Yeah.
That I agree with you, but I'm just saying there is still a little bit of a difference. But if you make a deal with the prosecution should have to uphold that deal. And if they don't, if the legal system decides, if our legal system here decides, oh no, the prosecution can do that all they want. Good luck getting a witness from now on, because
For
if
sure.
you can go back on the deals you make, good luck. The prosecution will never win a case again, because I don't know. I think Bill Cosby should legally be in jail, or should morally he should be in jail, but legally he shouldn't. I think releasing him was the right thing based on the deal he made.
Well, I have a question for you guys regarding that. Do you think that you can or should legislate morality?
It's interesting.
Oof. Such
Yes
a
and
fine.
no.
That's such a like a fine and dirty line. Like how much? But how much? How much could you just play off morality to boost your argument? Right? Like
That's what the fucking Christian church fucking does, and the American government trying to make excuses for that shit.
It is.
I don't want to talk.
That's why they ban abortion.
Yeah. I
I
think-
know.
Yeah.
That's why they fucking pass
Take another
abortion. That's why they pass abortion legislation, because there's the people that are there that think abortion's wrong.
Yeah.
So they're gonna fucking legislate that shit. My parents are in that boat.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had this argument with my mom actually the other day, and my argument for her, I just pulled the morality out of it, and I was like, listen, people have been having abortions for fucking millennia.
Forever, yeah.
Whether you think
Centuries,
it's right
yeah.
or wrong, if my daughter got knocked the fuck up and for whatever reason decided not to keep the baby, I would rather her have a safe, sterile, clean
Yeah.
place to go than drinking fucking bleach in a back alley and getting a fucking clothes hanger shoved up her twat.
Mm.
Fuck that. I want her to be, I'd rather her be safe. Like that would be, I didn't say
Yeah.
twat to my mom. Jesus Christ.
I wish you would.
Dude.
That was my argument. She was like, well, I still don't think the government should pay for it. And I was like, well, fucking fine. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
care
just,
who pays for it.
I'm
It
just
just
saying-
should be legal.
but forcing a bounty on fucking people that.
Oh yeah,
help target
Texas
people.
is like
Have you guys heard about that?
No,
In
what is
Texas,
that?
The abortion ban.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So essentially, they have made abortion illegal after 6 weeks, which most people don't know they're pregnant after 6 weeks. But
Right.
that if a
It's
doctor,
basically the earliest you
like
can
whether
find
it's
out.
a doctor or another person that takes them out of state or drives them, can get fined for up to 10 grand, and the
Holy
person
shit.
that reports them it's basically bounty hunting. If you know somebody that got an abortion, it's super fucked.
Hold on, the person who reports them, what happens to the person who reports them?
They get
They can get
they
up
can
to
get up to
$10,000.
I love it, man. Love
A
it.
little bit
What a
farther.
Yeah,
in-
I could see a whole bunch of wanted posters going up all over.
Yeah,
the
that's
place,
right.
you know, at some point.
I'm
From-
just amazed
also-
that's the
in this
Boba
day and
Fett
age.
shit.
if you're an Uber driver, you can get in trouble if you drive them to the abortion clinic.
Yep.
You can
What
get
kind
in
of
trouble.
like
Wow,
whacked
they
out
really-
fucking what? Some
Hold
guy
on,
just
hold
trying
on.
to work
Oh,
like his
shit.
third job over there, and he's like, "I'm just driving people around." Like, you're going to jail, motherfucker. And you're like, "What?" Like,
In it.
Yeah.
what?
I mean, I don't know how it is in
So what-
Austria.
Let me- which state is it that
It's a right state.
that says that if you get that's the right state. That if a woman is raped, the rapist actually has rights.
That's almost every state.
That's a lot of stuff.
That
yeah.
is crazy.
yeah,
They
Well,
don't
it all
say
depends.
it
What do you mean by rights? What does that mean?
That's how-
Rights.
that's
Right,
just-
visitation rights.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Bring,
there's
bring the baby to prison.
and partial custody. If
Oh.
they didn't get
partial custody.
so there's
Love it.
former NFL player, Ray Caruth, I think was his name.
Oh yeah, Ray Caruth, yeah, who killed his had his missus killed. Yeah,
So he had his girlfriend was pregnant. He didn't want
That's
to have
right.
anything to do with it. He hired a
Mhm.
guy to follow them on their way home.
that's correct. Yeah,
They pulled over. The guy got out and just lit the car up with bullets.
That's crazy.
that's right.
like,
Yeah,
She lived for a short amount of time. She was pregnant, had the baby while she was in hospital, maybe even on life support. The baby had severe physical issues because of all the shooting and whatever. And then he went to jail for 18 years and got out and sued for like custody or visitation rights or whatever. It's insane.
Yeah.
did he?
It's
Did he sue?
He sued for it.
It's such
Yeah.
a weird,
I don't-
weird.
I
But
don't remember. If
Yeah,
he
yeah,
won,
back,
but-
back in the time where he didn't want nothing to do with it. The child didn't want nothing to do with the child. So I didn't mean to call it.
tried to have
He
it
didn't.
killed, yeah.
He had nothing. He didn't want anything to do with the child. So he killed the baby's mother, or had the baby's mother killed.
Had her
No,
killed.
And now
years
and
later.
Like,
he came out of jail and what? A change of heart.
yeah, he's a good dad
Who
now.
knows? He found
Picked up
Jesus.
some
I don't
books in
know.
prison. How's
my,
your dad?
My bad. My bad.
It's crazy how, like,
Yeah.
morally in his brain, he was like, "This is better. Like, this is,
Yeah.
rather than like,
Yeah.
let's just have a chat about it and we'll see what we can buff out." He's like, "Murder. Let's fuck with that."
Yeah.
for a
Tell me he
little bit."
didn't win. Tell me he
Of
didn't
course
win.
he won.
I don't know that. I
Of
don't
course
know
he
for
did.
sure.
You know he did. He's got a bit of money. He's got a good lawyer. Like, of course he fucking won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I made
Well,
a
I
lot
mean,
of money from selling his book about what
Yeah,
he did.
that's right.
It was roughly 18 years later, so you would think that.
he's reformed.
Well, no, not that. I'm saying you'd think that though that the child being an adult would have a choice on whether he wanted to see him or not.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, I will say, and this is different. I'm not equating the two.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Here we go.
No, I'm not. But I'm just the closest example that another bottle of champ. That's fucking rad. But like my son, but my oldest, my stepson, his dad
Yeah.
was a piece of shit dad. It's like up till
Jesus Christ.
I'm talking about like I'm talking about like fucking we had to go pick him up one time because he fucking punched him in the head and shit. Like it was a fucking nightmare. We had a lawyer up. He drove with him fucking super drunk and almost killed, like a bunch of shit like that. But this year, and this is when he was kidding, he has had no relationship up until he's just turning 18. And his dad's turned his shit around and gotten his shit together and actually is being a decent dad. I mean, granted, and I look at it like it's important for a kid to have a relationship with their dad, whether it's necessary or not. I feel like it's important because every kind of kid
I think it's
kind
absolutely
of they
necessary.
crave that shit. I mean, like I've been a dad. He calls me like that.
Sure.
his dad, but I mean, but
Same with my own.
but your biological dad, like there's a craving of approval and all this other shit. So it's been really good for him, but like it's been a night and day difference. And again, it's different than, had he fucking had my current wife killed.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
still, I mean, people like, as far as that weird biological thing, like it might be, oh, well, shit, I've missed all this time. Like, I want to at least be a decent father, because you can be a shitty spouse and a shitty human being, but still be a good fucking dad.
That's fair.
Like, I'm terrible to be married to, but I work. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm the worst fucking person to be married to. I'm a piece of shit, but I work my ass off to be a decent dad, only because I don't want my kids to grow up to be fucking serial killers. But,
Hey.
but I mean, I consider myself, and I think Joey would agree, regardless of opinion. And look, like, I'm a pretty decent dad. I spend time. I go do shit.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. But I'm a shitty fucking human being. So like, I don't get the suing part, but I get the wanting a relationship with your kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not saying he should have.
Well, he
but
didn't have
the
he didn't have a problem
desire.
with the kid. He had a problem with the wife, right? When you think about it. So
Yeah, like
But
I could
still,
fucking murder
I think
Joey.
he's got a huge pair.
yeah, if the
He had
facts
her-
are,
he was having
I'm
her
a good
killed
dad.
because she was pregnant.
That's fucking.
He was
crazy.
having her killed because she was pregnant.
Right.
That was the
That's
thing.
right.
It wasn't just
Right.
saying like, that she was
Yeah,
pregnant.
Yeah.
He didn't like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
But I mean, I've said hundreds of times to go back to where the question was asked earlier: Are parents at all responsible for any, like Michael Jackson, for instance, or anything like that? And I think yes, they are a little bit. But I mean, I've said, a lot of. I say a lot. I think a lot of crimes that get committed by kids shooting up a school, things like that.
parents.
If parents were held responsible for some of that, I think you'd have a lot less of it. But also, one thing that people don't bring up a lot is that there's more than used to be. Dads aren't hanging around and helping raise kids, and that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
moms are great, moms are absolutely necessary, but a lot of dads aren't hanging around and raising kids, and that's a big problem, because a dad tends to represent authority, and they're sort of the first representation of authority that a kid gets, whereas they kind of see it differently when they're outside in the world, as far as like police and things like that go. And that's a big deal. I mean, I think a lot of that can be tied together.
Wouldn't that come down to the mother as well? You know what I mean? It's heaps of single
It is, but
moms, like,
in
that are
general, though, the dad tends to represent
But
the authority, and the mother
I would-
tends to represent the nurture.
I would disagree if the mother's providing
Yeah, I think I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
household.
like male influences in their life, because you can have guys that you look up to.
But-
I'm not saying it replaces a dad, but it absolutely provides the same thing.
How
It
many?
doesn't- I don't think it provides the same thing. I think it provides some of what is needed.
How many of those like kids
I
that
have
grow
to-
up like hating authority in like respect to like men, like have a mom that grows up just shitting on men the whole time because the man left? I'm not saying what the man leaving is right, but obviously
Yeah,
kids are sponges and they pick everything up, and she's like obviously had to like thicken her skin, but then that once again that overcorrection of just like completely and utterly demonizing men. And wouldn't it stem from some of that as well? Like possibly.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But isn't that part and parcel because the father's no longer there?
Yeah,
So
that's
those are
what I
all
mean.
part of
I'm
the
not saying it's
ramifications of the father not being there.
it's all it's all intertwined, isn't it? Like it all.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all
I agree.
related to something.
But that's just another of the effect
Yeah.
of fathers not being around. One is obviously not being able to influence that child on a day-to-day basis, which I think is very important on a day-to-day basis, not just once a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And the second one is yes, obviously the scars that you can leave a woman with if you've treated her badly or left under certain conditions, and then she then has to look at that child which may look like you may even have mannerisms of that child. Then
I think
tough one.
to a point too, but I mean, I think there's some situations where the dad absolutely should be out of the fucking
Oh, yeah,
picture.
100%.
Like fuck.
Yeah, sure. There's definitely. I mean, those. I think those are mostly the outliers. I mean, there's.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, my parents divorced when I was young. I was under 10 years old. I don't remember how old I was. But
Old enough to marry.
yeah. But my parents divorced when I was young, and my dad, based on what the court system gave, got us, every other weekend and one night every week, but we grew up like somebody was saying, mom that poisons you toward men or whatever. My mom didn't poison us toward men, but she talked shit about my dad all the time. And as an adult, I found out a lot more information about my dad, and I didn't find it out from him, which to me makes it a little more believable because he wasn't the one just kind of talking himself up. He really wasn't. But she talks shit about my dad all the time, and I've never, as a kid, I never heard him say anything bad about my mom ever. And my mom was fucking crazy. Like when it comes to, like,
I almost got to dinner.
Super religious. Like we grew up super religious. Like, I mean, like, toys taken away because they were satanic.
Yeah.
And music.
So what sort of toys were they? What sort of toys were they that were classed as satanic?
He-Man,
dildos,
He-Man, and Masters of the Universe toys.
I have the power.
We were not allowed to watch the show Smurfs because because Gargamel is a wizard.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
wizards aren't real. Giant man in the sky.
No, the kind of Christianity we grew up in is borderline cult. Like looking back at it, there's so many cultish elements. Like honest to God, I can see it much more clearly now that I'm older and have read a lot more into cults in different situations. I mean, it's very fucking cultish.
It's very. But there's a lot of things like that. But you know, as an adult, we've had conversations with my dad where it's like, so once a year, my dad and stepmom and all of their kids, which are 5 of us total between the 2 of them, and then our spouses and our kids. So it's the grandparents and the kids and the grandkids. We all go on a vacation together for a week.
Insane to me.
Oh, we have a blast, man. But we get along. But I've got a reason why mine is more enjoyable than it is to you.
Okay.
No one preaches at me and tries to get me saved.
Yeah,
I guess part of it.
That's part of it.
But anyway, my dad is a very religious guy. He's works with the kids at his church and things like that. And I'm not religious at all anymore. But we all get along. And when me and my 2 siblings that share the same parents talk about crazy shit my mom is doing currently, it's funny because my dad will laugh and we always say, what are you laughing? He's like, it's just interesting to hear that 30 years later, nothing has changed. We talk about some of that stuff now because we're all, you know, in our mid 30s, 40s. Yeah. But as a kid, I never once heard him shit talk my mom at all. But all 3 of the kids that they had together, once they hit teenage years, moved out of her house and moved in with him. So that should tell you something.
Dude, my dad started like a couple years ago talking to me about his sex life with my mom. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's super
bonding, man. Bonding.
I'm 40, but I'm not ready for this.
My stepmom and stepsister
I don't want to hear you talking about finger blasting my mom.
Right.
You know, I want to hear.
Yeah. At this point, it's probably hand blasting. But still.
Yeah, right. Ooh. Pop a couple kids out and you put that whole thing up in there. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Ethan has just horrified most of this episode so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you should know you by now.
Easy and Andre, you guys had this argument, haven't you? The fatherless
stepdad. Yeah, the stepdad. Yeah, we had to think of no. Whether
a single mother,
a woman,
raise
a single mother, bring up, raise a
boy to be a man. Yeah, that really got quite a few.
I think, but not as good as having 2 parents can do. I think yes, but not as good.
I would disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, so do I.
But I would say majority of the time it's preferable to have both, but I would say that some women
for sure
are more than capable of doing
there's always outliers for sure.
Right.
Hey, what about the single dads out there? Let's stop shitting on them. There's some decent single dads out there, you know, doing their thing. You get it. Fellas, you fucking get it, boys. Go, boys.
Unfortunately, men have been the spotlight for too long, so step aside and let the women have
you have
okay, so bring a little bit of balance there.
Jumping back, because I want you guys' opinion, honestly, as far as parents being responsible for kids' actions.
Okay.
Because this is kind of where all this stemmed off of.
Yeah, we got somebody that chimed in and said, I saw that and said, I believe parents are responsible for their child's actions. That's gets nigh.
So this is
perfect.
A legitimate question. Is when you have a 8, we'll say under 12, we'll say 8 to 10-year-old kid that commits suicide. How much of a role or responsibility should their parents hold for that kid killing themselves at 8, 9 years old?
It's a
That's a tough one.
let you guys go for it. But just I have a thought.
No, I think that
That has to be like
it's
situational.
difficult to blame
though,
a
right?
parent for that because you don't
suicide
always
is-
fully appreciate what your child might be going through. I mean, you can have conversations with your
Sympathize,
child, and if
empathize,
they
yeah.
don't want to tell you certain things,
Okay.
you just don't know.
But,
So I
couldn't
think-
that
but there's also
go
like
the
And
same
again, I'm
for
not
shooting
talking.
up a
I'm not
school?
talking about a teenage kid. I'm talking about 8, 9 years old when they have no concept of how the world is outside of their bubble that you're providing for them.
But isn't that like sort of like adult ignorance that we assume that children are like innocent and young, and we just we treat them accordingly. We treat them like they are children. When like I remember being young, like I had to grow up pretty quick, like going through the shit I went through, and I was always treated like a child, like a you know. Like we know best and we see things that you couldn't possibly understand. Like the amount of times I heard that and I was like, no, I understand. I just see that you guys are fucking doing it wrong. You know what I mean? So
Hold on. And you were at 8.
maybe not 8, but you know what I mean? Like it's this.
I'm talking that young. I'm talking at the point that you can't give them a decision to make on their own. So you narrow down like with my kids. If I give them too many options, it's fucking impossible. If I give them
Okay.
two,
Yeah. That makes
I already know what the answer is going to be. But hey, do you want pizza or do you want like fucking spaghetti? Like which one? So I give them some choice in the matter. If I'm like, what do you want for dinner? Anything you want. They're gonna be like, well, fucking Lifesavers or fucking,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a controlled environment. Like my opinion is those parents should be charged with manslaughter
Whoa.
Oh, that's too.
because
But how do they know what
because
suicide
let me
is?
tell
A little bit far, I think.
no, because you have not at all equipped your kid to handle any type of adversity at 8 years old. Like you have at that point, you have instilled those emotional issues at a kid that young. As a parent,
Okay,
you have
Steve, did you not have a case one in time in America, well, probably more than once, where a boy, I can't remember what he'd done, but I'm sure he killed somebody with a car. And he was and his parents were very rich, and his defense lawyer, pulled up something called affluenza.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he
some
was
bullshit.
his family, because his family was so rich, he had no, what's the word? He couldn't comprehend because he was so rich. Things was done for him, and they called it affluenza.
I love that. From the word affluent, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they call it
Love
affluent.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, affluenza.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
That's his job, isn't it? He's a lawyer.
Yeah,
That's his
so
job.
should the parents have been
Charged
Yes.
then.
responsible for what he done?
Yes.
And how old was he? He was 8. Was he young?
No,
Like,
he
he
this
was
guy
like
was in his
senior-
All kids are 8 now.
Well, I think no reason why I asked because if he's a teenager, obviously he's old enough to know better. So he's
Let's
guilty.
put it this way: R. Kelly wouldn't have put his hands on him.
It's too old.
Right. My
R.
point being, as a
Kelly wouldn't have put
parent-
his hands on him.
Yeah, but if kids are coddled,
parent-
that kid wouldn't understand, right? Like he fully wouldn't understand what he's done. Like breaking
Right.
the law to people
But that's what I'm saying.
where the law doesn't apply,
Like,
he
you
wouldn't
have to have
understand it
some
even.
accountability as a fucking parent of your kid's actions up to a certain extent.
Yes.
And
Right,
if
up to
my
a certain
kid
age.
is 8 years
Yes.
old killed himself because of some shit he had on Call of Duty, I have failed him to do any type of preparation. Like it's my fault that kid's dead.
How
If
do-
your kid kills himself at 8, it's your fucking fault.
How do you
I
prepare a
agree.
kid for that?
Well, what's he doing with Call of Duty at 8?
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, that's
that's just- that's
part
just
of
a-
the fucking point.
that's part
Yeah.
of the point. Steve, but I agree with everything up until the manslaughter charge. I think
So here's
that's
my question.
a little much.
And then what do you do with it?
I don't know.
All right, Steve.
I don't-
So
I don't think-
how do you equip your 8-year-old to
Yeah.
handle all the tragedies of life
No.
at 8? What do you do? Do you start
Make him go work on the farm.
but
No,
not
you
even
tell-
not
you
even
tell
that.
them no.
Like
You
no,
tell them
hold
no.
on. Like obviously, like you guys being 8 and like them being 8 they're two different worlds, man. Like this is like
No,
like
they are.
a lot of people are like if you get cyberbullied, just turn your phone off. Like you know what I mean? Like it's such a simple thing.
Yeah,
Whereas
but
to somebody who's grown
But
up with it
at
and
the-
lived with it every single day of their life, it's not as simple. Their life is online. Their friendships are online. All their social
but that's
circles
the
are based
thing.
on these things, right?
Why don't you control that? My oldest, who's just turned 18, he wasn't allowed to have any social media until he was like 16, 17 years old because he wouldn't be able to handle it. There's to avoid all that bullshit. And he's weird as fuck, but he's pretty well adjusted as far as all that shit goes. But he's weird as shit just because he's a fucking gamer kid and loves all that
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, but what 18-year-old loves jazz music and he loves
Yeah,
it.
that's
hold
right.
on. Hold on. You're
yeah.
saying that your kid wasn't allowed to have like Facebook accounts until they were 16?
No social media until they're old enough to understand a little bit more what the fuck's going on. Yeah.
Wow.
all right,
Some
but-
people would say that's a bit draconian.
Yeah.
With all respect. Some people would say that.
Those same people are trying to marry minors as well.
Right.
so-
But I'm saying, like,
Yeah, that tends to be true. Yep.
He had a phone. He could talk to his friends. He
Yeah.
could do shit. Like, he wasn't banned from interaction. I just kept him off of social media because it's a toxic cesspool of fucking garbage.
But also,
Like,
kids
there's no
are,
kids are in here
16 though.
you know, kids are creating like fake accounts. They're a little bit more equipped for this technology, and they know how to get around you guys looking at it. You guys, let me check your
Yeah.
phone. They're like, here you go, bud. Have a look. Treat yourself.
Exactly. You
Knock
probably had one
yourself
when you were 12.
out, and then as soon as you get it, you can punch in a different password or something. It brings up a different set of apps, and you wouldn't even know. Like that's the.
Yeah,
I think
for
that's
sure.
the
Yeah.
thing. It's like they're.
I think you guys underestimate my technical.
That's what I was
abilities.
going to say. I think Steven is the exception to that because he's pretty.
I work in that field. I do.
I get it, but
yeah,
we're not
so-
just talking about you. We're talking the broad sense, right? Like,
No, no,
you
I
know,
No, for sure. I agree with what you're saying. But
But-
my kids weren't. We didn't let our kids have smartphones until they were teenagers.
Yeah.
So they just had a regular old flip cell phone. They could text their friends, but Facebook and Twitter was
a big
out.
part of
Yeah.
it is though taking the time to know your fucking kid.
yeah,
You
that's
know what
it.
they're capable of. You know their responsibility
Yep.
level, and you can equip them and give them privileges accordingly. But the thing with my
I don't
kids is
know. I don't know.
the thing I give you is as a fucking like
I try to spend a lot of time with my kids and, ask them, how was your day at school? Half the time I get the answer, all right.
Yeah, shut up, Dad.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
But
It's
how
very
old are
difficult to get information from your kids if they don't want to give you that information.
That's true.
no, it's true. But I mean, some of that. But that's a certain age. That's a normal.
That's
fucking
why you
kid
have to
thing.
go snoop. through
Exactly.
their room
That's my
and
point.
do all the chores and stuff.
Follow them around
Yeah,
a little
hit on your
bit.
friend, so you know what's going on.
Follow them around.
You
Follow
know?
them around.
Take the day
No,
off.
My point being is
Stalk them in your
is
car.
the way that you mold your kid when they're younger, they can go off those because you reach a certain age that they're going to make what decisions they fucking make.
Sure.
But up to a point, you have a lot of control of the direction,
Mm.
or at least their personality and the way they look at the world. You have a
Mhm.
lot of say in how you shape that, and
How
that
does-
plays into what they do when.
All right, how does that like for like the parents like you guys, right? Like that obviously builds a sense of resentment towards you because you're restricting them from doing something that everybody else is doing. Do you guys feel that? Like,
I've never had. No,
So
I don't.
we're in a slightly different situation because I had kids at a very young age, and Steven's
mm,
and his oldest, his stepson, is 18.
Yeah.
My youngest, my daughter, is 20, and so I was 20 years old and had 3 kids. I wasn't old enough to drink in the U.S., but I had 3 kids by the
Okay.
time I was 20. I've been just when
That's what happens when you get married at 14. God damn it!
I got married when I was 18. We will in December we'll celebrate our 22-year anniversary. I mean, we got married very young. We had kids very young, and so my kids as adults now look back and can realize some of the stuff like that we did was for their own good.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we weren't as strict as some parents, and now, but we also have a pretty good relationship with our kids where they can say anything to us about anything. They can joke with us. I mean, they can make fun of us as parents. They can make jokes
Yeah.
about us, whatever, and it's all fine. But they realize a lot of that stuff. It's a slightly different boat than Steven's situation.
Yeah, but at the same time, I try to take the perspective of
yeah, sure.
like the world's a shitty fucking place, and they're going to see it eventually. So my
Yeah.
job is to prepare them for that shitty fucking world. And
It is.
so,
There's just no
I hear
way
that.
you can
I hear
understand
that.
what they're going.
No. Well, no, but I can try to
Mhm,
see,
mhm.
and that comes from conversation. But my point is like I'm 100% honest. I will talk to my kids about anything
Yeah.
appropriate to their age level, right? But like my daughter at if they ask me about fucking sex at 8 years old, I'll tell them in a way that's appropriate for their age. But I've never I've never played the bullshit game with them.
Sure.
Ever.
Mm.
Like they've asked
Go
me
and
about,
ask your,
you
go
know,
and ask your mother.
Yeah, that's right.
no, yeah,
Just
I've
palm it
never
straight
done
off.
that shit because
Go and ask your mother.
my ex-wife is really weird about talking to that shit. So when my daughter, who's about to turn 13, has questions, because she's 13 now, right? She's hitting puberty. She's, you know, starting to become aware of a lot of shit. And so she'll ask me questions before she'll ask her mom, because she's comfortable talking to me about it, because she knows I won't bullshit her
She
about
knows you'll
any
be
answers.
honest with her.
But isn't that what it sort of boils down to? So once again, you can look at these kids that are like, they are killing themselves at a younger age now, and social media does play a huge part in it, right? But does that come from neglect from the parents? You know, those parents are like, just go play with your phone, like fuck off. I don't
Yeah,
want to deal with you. I got
That's
too
what
much
I'm
shit
saying.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wouldn't that sort of stem from that? So, but even then, it's not neglect that they've neglected them their whole life. So maybe what you were saying before with this whole like manslaughter, maybe manslaughter is a little too much, but they should definitely.
A little too much.
There
yeah.
needs to be like some sort of repercussions. But then once again, how do you decide that a parent has neglected their child?
Yeah, I think that's a very great area. You could end up punishing parents that have done all that they could, and at the height of their suffering, you
put
lock
them in
up
jail.
or whatever
Yeah.
it is. I don't know.
Slap them with a fine.
Find them $10,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, no,
Like,
No, but I'm just saying that young, you have no concept of what the world is. You have no concept about a lot of these things.
yeah.
And so like the negative things that could happen to you at that age. And I'm not talking about abuse. I'm talking about a general kid in everyday life, not a kid that's being fucking diddled by their dad or their uncle or shit like that. That's a whole different fucking story, because those motherfuckers should go to jail forever and be raped in the fucking ass with burning fucking irons. But
There we go. There it is.
no, seriously,
Yeah,
fuck,
you can just
no
kill
child, no, fuck that. They deserve to suffer. Like that's one thing in the States. I don't know how it is where you guys are. I'm gonna completely tangent with this shit because it just made me fucking mad. Is like here in the States, you get more time for selling weed than you do
Yeah.
raping a fucking
That's
kid.
crazy.
in a lot of cases. Yeah.
That is
Most,
crazy.
especially
Yeah.
black.
It's because all
Oh
the
yeah, for sure.
If you're
all-
black,
You're a minority for sure,
Yeah.
black especially.
yeah, it's like that dude. How so? I don't know how hard are you guys where you're at on fucking sex offenders with like pedophiles and shit.
I think they get
Not hard
they
enough.
get a bit of street justice in prison here. Like they don't do well.
I think it
Well,
depends.
yeah.
On whether, I think it depends on whether they're raping kids during COVID lockdown or not.
And I'm just saying, out of all the shit in my, we got too much. No, my whole thing is like, to
Fucking
me, there are very few crimes worse than fucking raping kids or
I agree.
molesting kids. There are very
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
things that are worse than that.
Yep,
And I
agree.
100% love assholes. Like I want to bring back straight up, to use Andre's word, draconian fucking old school torture methods. Iron Maiden that bitch, fucking stick shit in their asshole, fucking bring them to the point of death, nurse them back. Fucking nothing's
No, some
Go
back.
on, Steven. Steve, you want to get medieval on them.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man.
for that level of depravity. Absolutely, there's no
Depravity.
cure.
But
for that.
all right, hold
I
up.
hear it, yeah.
And if we're gonna like go down this path, right? Is this a mental illness?
Let's do
Like where do like if we're talking about all these people
Okay,
like
but
touching kids and stuff,
regardless if it's
At
a
what
mental
point is
illness or not, it's mental.
at what point is it
No, if
like a
it's a
power play, or what
God
point
damn
is
it,
it
Josh.
like at what point is it an actual legitimate mental illness where these people
Okay,
don't?
but here's the thing: at what point with a mental illness is it not curable, and they just need to be removed from the goddamn planet?
that's,
Well,
that's fair.
so
No, 'cause if you're not-
if you kill somebody and you plead insanity and you're found to be insane,
Mm.
you still
one
get
thing.
punished by being instituted.
But I'm not talking about fucking. But I'm still. It doesn't matter. That's not. They need to. If you're the kind of person, because pedophilia, there's no fucking cure for it. It's
No,
not
for
like
sure.
you can take medication. Like if you're raping kids, you're always gonna want to rape kids. Period. If you're
you could get, what do they call it?
if you're a serial
chemical
killer,
castration, or whatever.
especially a violent one, you're always going to want to kill people. If you're
Mhm.
a psychopath, those people, justice system, fucking, there's no recovering. If they're a danger to society and they're going to harm people continuously, they need to be fucking removed from the planet. Fuck them. Fuck their lives. They need to go.
Well, I'll shut up then.
I'm very- dude,
It's interesting though, because if you were raped or molested as a kid, a lot of times you end up perpetrating the same crime.
Well,
No,
I would say
that
that's
is-
no fault of your own.
it's
No,
a
that-
higher percentage of kids. It's not the majority.
It's
a higher
a
percentage.
it's a hurt people
Well, that's
people thing, right? But it's
higher
definitely
percentage
not the case.
majority.
I think. Oh, I can only.
a higher percentage of kids get molested compared to the entirety of kids.
Sure, but the majority of kids that get
No,
molested end up perpetrating some
False.
sort of crime like that.
30%.
No,
I just heard. I just
All right.
read a thing on the
Yeah,
show.
I-
It's
that's
30%.
fine. That's
I don't
fine.
think
I
that's-
looked it up recently, so.
Somebody Google
But
it.
I'm just. But I'm saying it.
But it is
at
interesting
what
though that,
point
yeah.
Are you a product of? Or at what point are you a product of what has happened to you?
I don't care.
Yeah, that's
I
a
don't
tough
care.
one.
But
What-
you also don't believe in prosecuting someone that's poor and stealing just to help their family,
That's
right?
different.
Right.
It's not.
No, it's
Ooh.
not different. No, it's not. It's not different, but
But
the
it's-
long-term ramifications is 100%.
Yes, but one is a product of what happened to you.
Mhm.
One is a product of your decisions and what has happened to you.
Okay.
But
But-
the molestation is a product, in the example I'm giving, of what happened to you. You had
Mhm.
no
If-
control
Okay.
over that.
Okay. No, I understand the argument you're making.
Sure.
But the severity and the damage it does to another human being are entirely different things. That's arguing
I
that
agree.
theft is equal to fucking raping
But
a
you
kid.
then have to take the damage of what happened to them
It's
into
a-
the
it's
crime
a
that they
sickness.
perpetrate.
If there's no, because we're talking about
do.
no, we're talking about a mental state. I'm not talking about legality. I'm not talking about the law.
I
I'm
understand
talking
that.
about mental state. Somebody, if as soon as they have more, they're more than likely going to quit stealing unless they're kleptomaniac.
Sure.
But still, that's not hurting other people the same way that sticking your dick in a fucking child is.
I agree.
So, and
But
I don't
they're
care
still
what
a product of what happened.
it doesn't matter after
But
your
that's why
brain
I'm
is
saying-
that
But
fucked.
that's why I'm saying it's situational on what the punishment
No,
is. to
if you
someone.
rape a kid, I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what your background is. You fucking deserve to be taken off the goddamn planet. I don't give a shit why. I don't give a shit about your background. As soon as you
I-
fuck a kid, you're fucking done.
I think you
Can I change
deserve
the
to
subject
take
now?
off-
Can we? I want to talk about something else.
I hear that, Steve. I hear that, Steve. I do,
Yeah,
I
after
hear
me,
that.
I understand what you're saying as well. but-
Yeah, I, you know what? Yeah, I
I-
feel
I-
you. You know what I mean?
It's
All
harsh.
right, but
Yeah,
But
hold that.
it's
Hold
harsh.
that for me. Hold that for me. Yeah, see that? Yeah. Hold that for me, Andre.
All right, I want to talk about something
No
else
doubt.
besides this children's molestation.
Yeah, that's it. Can we get off that? It's late here. I'm gonna have to go
so
to
you
bed
take
with
them
this
off the
shit.
street and put them in jail. You know what the government's spending millions of fucking dollars on? That person to sit in a fucking jail cell or
understand that.
institution.
It's-
What the fuck ever?
Trying to
Their
get
life is-
rehabilitated.
Yeah, that's
So
You
the,
can't rehabilitate. You can't.
the,
Pedophilia.
the
is
last thing
something
I'll
you
say
can't
about it
rehabilitate.
is I think it's situational.
No, like the thing is, I will always be a sociopath. That will never change for me. There's no cure, but I've never harmed another human being. So fuck it. If I ever do, yeah. If I ever start fucking hurting people, god damn it, slit my fucking throat, throw me in a fucking river. I don't give a shit. I don't deserve to be here.
I want to talk about positive discrimination. That's what I want to talk about.
oh
Okay, I'm sorry. I totally went on a
Define-
rant. I hate fucking
It's okay.
Define positive discrimination.
yeah.
The practice or policy of favoring individuals belonging to groups known to have been discriminated against previously.
So affirmative action or along those lines.
Yeah, affirmative
Yeah.
action, I think is what you guys call it over there. Positive discrimination, affirmative action. Yeah.
Janine
So
Roach
who's
said,
who's
Steve for U.S. president,
President.
I'd vote for him.
Fucking Jesus.
oh Steve,
Fucking Jesus.
who said that?
Janine.
Janine.
Janine wrote.
Janine, go
God
for a
damn it,
walk.
woman.
Get outside,
God damn it,
get
woman.
some fresh air, and then come back.
So I'm going to shut my mouth for a while because that was a fucking like 10-minute
Was it?
rant of raping.
Where-
a
is
kid.
it?
Fucking-
What?
Is Janine from the UK or where's
Yeah,
Janine from?
she's from the
US,
UK. She's from
Yeah,
the
see,
UK.
Here-
I didn't hear that part. So
I'll have a word with her later on.
Because and I'm saying
you can bask in the glory of someone with a royal
No, no.
family.
The-
Yeah, that's right.
the juxtaposition boys have been insanely quiet this episode. It's been
Yeah.
me and Josh running our fucking goddamn fucking
Shut up.
cunt.
All right, positive. What did you? Positive.
Oh,
rate.
Positive discrimination. So
discrimination.
yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, if you guys have a company and it's, I think I touched on the subject before, but I sense from Joey a little hesitation. That's why I'm quickly bringing it back up
ahead.
again. Let me first say, I know speaking to all of you that that your views on black people and I know the plight, if I use that word, of black people, is pretty positive. So really, all I'm doing by asking this question is just trying to push the boundary a little bit more and seeing how far I can push you guys and see if I can find somewhere where you think, okay, enough's enough. That's why I'm asking the question. So yeah, positive discrimination. In a nutshell, you own a company. It's 70%, and I'm going to use these terms black and white because they're used all the time. It's 70% white people, which leaves 30% black people. You're in a yeah, it goes without saying. You're in an area which is the opposite. It's 70% black people, 30% white people. So obviously there's something's not quite right. Do you think that the idea of interviewing people with a view of taking on black people, even if there are white people who can do the job, do you think that is a step in the right direction? Do you think that's something that should be done? Easy. Let me ask you. Go on. Easy. Even you, Easy, because I want to hear your views on it as well.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna ask me that. I know you're gonna say that.
Yeah, it's taking too long.
Discrimination.
Joshua, you were going to answer. I see Easy's going to scared to answer them questions, man.
No, I'm not scared to answer the question.
Answer it
Wait,
then.
all right. So I think
Can I interject for just 1 second? Can we take a quick break so that anyone that needs to, because I gotta have a piss bad. I'm sure Steven's wanting some
Because
nicotine.
this is going to be a
hour
topic that's going to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we take a quick 5 to 10 second bathroom?
Yeah, talk about Tanga, mate.
100%. They're gonna go call the
People
lawyers,
watching
see what they
hair.
can get away with.
Call the lawyer, yeah.
Like, are we okay to say
Oh,
this? Yeah. Alrighty, boys, go pee.
Well, you guys are in another country. We'll be fine.
We'll be
We
fine.
have freedom.
We have freedoms over
Yeah.
here. No, but
It's funny how you label freedom.
It's
hey, Josh, I've bought another gun since the last time we talked.
I can't wait to. I'm still once all this
It's a
once
shotgun.
all of this
It's a
drops,
shotgun.
I'm coming straight over, man. I'm first flight over. I think our borders, like our international borders, open before our state borders. So I'm over there. We're shooting guns.
Yeah, you guys promised me that you could take me to a
Yeah, that's
shooting range
right.
as well.
We're
so,
all
yeah.
coming over.
Sure.
I don't know how big of a following you guys have, but I would 100% set up a GoFundMe to get you guys' ass over
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Do an in-person episode, hang the fuck out, do all this shit. You know,
Take them to your parents' farm and shoot guns. We don't have to go to no freaking
true.
Yeah, shooting range.
rules and
Yeah.
regulations.
Ooh.
Then we can share Jesus with them.
That's true. Good old American white Jesus.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
All right, so positive discrimination when we come back.
When we come back,
So
yes.
let's say
Okay.
5-10 minutes.
We call that affirmative action over here.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. So we'll be back in a second.
Right.
Do we all come back?
You didn't say how long. Is it
do
5
it-
minutes, 10 minutes?
Do we stay quiet in this situation? It's like an awkward
I'm
silent
assuming
ad
we're
break.
offline. I'm assuming.
I hope it's
Yeah,
Are we
we're
offline?
offline. We're offline.
All right.
But I guess that's a hard one, right? No matter what you say, it's just
Well,
gonna.
that's why I asked the question.
A similar sort of thing is the men and women. So I think there was Jordan Peterson came out and he's a clinical psychologist and he was like, so we look at the like the field of engineering, for instance, and they're like it's predominantly male dominated. And what they want to do is slash it to 50-50. So the same example of 70-30, 70% men and 30% women. And they're like, we want to bump it to 50-50. But to do so, they have to lower the test scores to attract women to do it because women don't want to become engineers. You know what I mean? So they're lowering the standard of the engineers to some places. I'm not saying everywhere, but lowering the standard of the degree to cater for
To
this-
accommodate
Yeah,
women.
right.
And isn't the same thing over here, Andre, with the police? Supposedly.
Well, see, I was hoping that I want to talk about this, but I think I really want to say this real
Yeah,
back
should we-
online
should we-
because what
yeah,
Josh just said, I've
okay,
got an
let's
answer
leave
to
it,
that
let's leave it.
or question to that.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll bring it back up.
Eh,
How you guys been
Okay.
anyway? What's been happening over there? You guys safe? Or is it chaotic?
yeah.
is that?
How you guys been?
In fact, I'm going to go offline for a minute or two, so
All
it's back in a minute, guys.
The only thing that's chaotic, Josh, is the fact that we don't have any. Well, there's been fighting at the petrol stations. I don't know if you've seen it on the news.
Like people trying to buy fuel? What is?
No, fight
Yeah.
because there's lack of petrol.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
so
people
people are lining up and
Yeah,
fighting and-
people are losing their shit for real. They've been
that
going
that
berserk.
happened in the States just previous to you guys, right? Like it was.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's happening in the States, but I know it's been happening here because my brother, my friends down south, they're losing they're saying they're calling petrol stations to find out if they got petrol so they can rush there quickly and what's that? Josh, let me jump off quick. I got a call to quick.
No,
quick,
go,
quickly.
go.
One
Go
second.
nuts, man. Go nuts.
All right.
Easy there. We got Andre. We got everybody.
All right.
Hey,
We are back. All right.
Boom.
hey, there's Andre. All right, didn't have him for a second. All right, so
Are we
positive.
back on then?
Yeah.
Yes.
So positive discrimination. I want to
Yeah.
hear Andre's take first because I feel like there's been me and Josh ranting a lot this episode. So I want to hear the juxtaposition, boys.
Well,
In.
I posed a question, so I really want to hear from Easy and Josh then.
Not
Well, I posed a question, so before, I need to. Yeah.
do
wanna hear your
I
guys'.
think positive discrimination is a good thing?
Yeah. Not sure.
In a nutshell, it has its good side. It has a good side. It does, because me as a young erudite, dynamic person of color has been in a situation where I've been what's the word, discriminated against because of my color. But I kind of shrug it off. I just get on and do what I got to do. I know other people who've had it, have tried to get through, and again they've been pushed back because of their color. On the flip side, sometimes you have affirmative action, positive discrimination, and the people who have come through just don't cut it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And where
They
have you
just
seen that? Where have you seen that scenario?
Well, where I work, where I work,
So where you work,
where I worked
there
before.
are black people where you work that are unable to do their job, and you think they got the job because of their color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, I'm
What
gonna
about
say
you?
yeah.
Did you get your job because of your color?
I did.
No, I didn't. No, I'm not.
Josh, let me just take a step back. What's your view, Josh?
So we had the similar conversation with with like men and women like moving into engineering and that one particular case. And once again, it's like it has to vary from case to case. But they wanted to lower the standard to sort of entice women into it. So women weren't interested. They wanted to make it more enticing and level the playing field, because obviously engineering is a more male dominated area. So what they did, like I said, so are we lowering the standard? And I'm like, this is discrimination. It's not race. It's not color or whatever. It's gender. It's all of it. Like, do we have to lower a standard to get people in there to feel, what we feel is right? Or like, does it come down to us purposefully kicking people out for not doing it? You know what I mean?
I think it's interesting that the mindset straight away is that in order to have a an equivalent amount of black people, because what we're talking about, we may need to lower the standard.
No, but I was using the case of women. But that's what I was asking. Like
That's what I heard.
But it doesn't like for that case of engineering when it comes to men and women, they had to lower the standard. But once again, it's like that. What the point I was trying to make is they were trying to push people into a job that they necessarily wouldn't want, and then to do so they had to do it. So does it come down to? I think in terms of color, like are there positions that black people may not want over other positions? Does it like I don't know how to say that well enough to not sound like a racist piece of shit.
I try to put you in a
You know what I
position,
mean?
which I shouldn't really have done, but I couldn't help it. But again, I think if we look at the majority of companies that have an imbalance, I think it's almost an insult to suggest that the reason why it's like that is because there are not enough black people who are able to do the job, especially when, if you look at the demographics of the positions, you probably find that there are a lot of standard level positions as well that are still predominantly white people. So my point is that there are two problems. Of course, one is getting an equal amount of people within the company. Once you get that, of course, the next thing that we're going to complain about is that, okay, you've got 50-50, but if we look, you probably find that the higher the position, the less black people there are.
Yeah.
And then then that's another issue that needs to be raised. But as for the issue of literally just having a company that reflects the area that you're in, no, I don't think that necessarily means you have to lower the standard of what you're looking for.
I think when it comes to race more so, it's not a thing of being less. It's like, is that company willing to invest in similar training that they do provide for the white staff? Isn't that like another thing where it's like, as you're saying before, as you climb the ladder, so called, you'll find less and less people of color. Does that come down to the lack of training that they're providing them as well?
Well, that's a good question.
I think it's basically lack of opportunity, isn't it? Really.
What does that mean? Lack of opportunity.
Or is it a discrimination from the top down, saying that?
Okay. Well, that's a totally different thing. You say discrimination.
Yeah, we just want. Yeah, we just want.
Here's my view. I think that you go for an interview. If the person you're interviewing is white and you go for the job and you're black and another guy goes for the job and he's white and you're about the same. Mm-hmm. So then you start talking about other things, I don't know, just life in general. And if the person who's white can talk about things that more reflect you and more things that you can resonate with, then there's a good chance that he will get the job.
Yeah.
Simply because
human nature.
You've I know, linked with him on another level. And I guess if it was flipped and it was a black company, and a black guy went in there and spoke about things that happened to him when he was younger, or things that the person who was interviewing him could resonate with, then maybe it'd be the opposite way. The black guy would be given the job. But whatever the reason, I think they call that there's a term for it. It's some sort of like discrimination when you don't quite realize you're doing it. But my point is that yes, I don't think that it's necessarily because of not being able to do the job, or.
But isn't that what Easy said? Like, his company was hiring people based off their color to get more people of color in there, regardless of training.
Yeah.
Like, so then doesn't it boil down to training at that point?
And I'm going to say again.
I'm sorry. Like that. Once again, you have to look at it situationally, right? And I'm saying, like, obviously the context that you're presenting, Andre, is whereas like if two equal parties go in, like, it should be based off their skill set, which is fine. But but then you go, there's that they're not intentionally doing it. You say like a white guy interviews a black guy and a white guy, and he gets along with a white guy better just because of They're more like that sort of common. Yeah, that's right. And vice versa, right? Whereas now, in like the age that we sit at, where it's like people are demanding like a 50-50, where they're going out and actively hiring underskilled, and like I said, it's not even about color, underskilled, anybody, people, men, women, whatever, for those areas, just to fill a quota to make it that 50-50. Like, how do you separate those two? You know what I mean? Like, where's the line of like, we're actively hiring people because of their color, and we want to represent our business in a better light in terms of being equal, whereas like one is like incredibly active discrimination, where they're like, well, I kind of like the white guy better because he does similar white things that I do. You know what I mean?
I think it's way more multifaceted than this.
Oh, 100%. We're five dudes just that are on a podcast. Like, of course it is.
No, like technically, and I'm not equating them whatsoever, but I'm in a protected class. I get I get preferential like job opportunities over another white dude because I'm considered a protected veteran. I'm a disabled vet on paper, so I get more treatment even above the normal white dude, which is fucking weird to me. But I mean, I feel like that there's no good answer to it. I feel like affirmative action or equal opportunity or whatever discrimination, call it in general. I think that it's the best solution we could come up with to an issue that was very widespread.
That's fair.
And because I don't think there's one good way to do it, because you have this bias, especially depending on the industry, that it's very white dominated, and a lot of blacks or women or any minority don't necessarily have the same educational opportunities to get to that point to apply for that position. Right. Especially, I mean, because like in general, there's a lot of minorities that don't have the same educational opportunities and are just less educated than white people because of the situations they're coming up in. And so it makes it a lot more difficult. And so I get the purpose behind it, especially in some industries, but I feel like the issue comes from with like Josh and Easy were saying that when you start lowering your standard for race. But the thing is we're humans, right? So we're always going to lean towards whatever confirms our natural biases. If I love fucking fishing and you love fucking fishing, that's going to give you an advantage regardless of your skin color over someone else. It come equal qualifications, which this shouldn't necessarily be the right way to do it. But I feel like there's so many layers to this conversation. And I feel like it is or was a really good Band-Aid or attempt to fix something that was atrociously off balance, right? But what's the good solution? What's the better way to do it? Because the fact of the matter is there aren't as many minorities that have the same education level to get into, say, an engineering position like Josh did, right? When you get down to base level labor, whole different story. And then opportunities coming up, especially depending on the industry. And so again, like, is there a better alternative other than giving people a chance to basically fight? Like, okay, so I'm a white dude. I run a company. My bias, because my experience is I've always had white guys working for me. I get a black dude that I can't relate to because maybe he comes from a very rough gang-related background, just going to extreme like in the States. I had a buddy of mine that was an engineer that came up from like gang level Atlanta, Georgia, like straight up dirty South, fucking rough background. And he managed to work his way up, and he was a pretty high level engineer. But I used to talk to him a lot because, you guys know me by now. I'll ask fucking anything. And it was very eye opening, the shit he had to go through to get there. But if it wasn't for, like I said, here, equal opportunity or positive, discrimination, he would have never have been able to get to that position, even though he was more than qualified to get there. So there's pros and there's cons, but we're fucking humans and we're selfish assholes. Yeah. And we always are going to migrate towards the things that we understand or that we know, as opposed to things that are foreign to us. Whether it's
that is why stuff like positive discrimination has to come into effect, because if it doesn't,
that's actually fair.
We will continue doing what we do, which is going to our own, because we're more comfortable with that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you just said it yourself. So if something isn't done, then the situation is not going to change.
That's right.
Agreed. And I feel like there might be better solutions out there, but it's the best one we got right now.
I agree. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Until general mindsets change, in the larger system, like Easy was saying, from the top down. Until those things fundamentally change, it's the best fucking thing we got to equal that playing field in a positive way.
So what about the bottom rung of jobs? So obviously, as I said, you've got a job. It's one thing questioning why there are not many people of ethnic minority as managers, but surely at the lower level, where qualification is less required, that is something that positive discrimination can be used.
Well, so I work with a very large.
That's 100%.
I work with a very large international company, and I work hand in hand with the lower level of the side of the company that I work with, which is the logistics side of things. And I work hand in hand with the lower ranking people. And the majority of that, at least in the building that I'm in, are white. Now, up until recently, the person that made the final decision on who was hired into those jobs was a black man. And I found that, at least from his perspective, and he was in his 50s, and he's from the Atlanta area, and he's grown up in a lot, seeing discrimination firsthand and seeing it with friends and family and things like that. But he held black people to a higher standard. Therefore, he hired less black people, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I don't know. I don't know if it is or bad.
You're not saying it's good or bad. In no way can that be good.
I don't know. I don't know if it is or isn't. If you're holding your own kind or whatever to a higher standard, because one would say holding someone to a higher standard is a
Fuck
good
you,
thing.
Janine. First you said I was president. Now so basically, what I take from that is the black people can't be called Steve.
Yeah,
That's
No, I think affirmative action or positive discrimination, whatever, was originally a good thing, just like unions were a good thing and tenure for teachers were a good thing. But I think a lot of those things that start as good eventually roll over to kind of where there's a little bit more of a negative
They become
thing
skewed.
Yeah.
because
but it's still not skewed.
I understand that, but I would use like a fire department. So for us, do you want a fire department that is hiring people strictly based on diversity, or do you want a fire department that's hiring people regardless of race based on skill and capability? Because if someone's coming to rescue me in a fire, I don't care what color you are. I just need you to be strong enough and smart enough to get me and my family out of the house.
Unless they're Asian, they can't carry shit.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
No, I mean, but you get
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I want to be carried.
right?
I'll tell you, man.
You know what's gonna happen? Your house is gonna burn down, and an Asian dude's gonna rock up, and he's gonna be like, "Fuck you, man! Get yourself out of this."
I remember you.
Sort your own shit out.
No, I listen to your podcast.
I heard that one sentence. That's all I heard of all your podcasts. And fuck you. Like, yeah.
That's fair. And if that occurred, I would absolutely deserve to burn in that fire.
Yeah,
I'm not with that.
No, but you get the point I'm making, right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
For sure.
does the skill set matter, or does a diversity of group matter? And to me, I wouldn't, if I were a hiring manager, I wouldn't want to know names, ages, races, or genders of who I was hiring or who I was deciding to interview. I should put it that way. Yeah. Obviously, you need to see someone face to face in an interview, but I would want to look at resumes without seeing names, ages, genders, races, or anything, and then set up interviews based on that. You're still not taking out. You're still not taking out the opportunity to discriminate when you see face to face or whatever. I mean, but I will say, like, for us, and maybe we're the exception, although I think we're not exceptional. Steven and I, the since we've started doing the podcast, the majority of the people that we formed friendships, relationships with, or whatever, have been other podcasts that are black Yes, Asians for sure. There's a
Have
couple.
you offered any of them jobs?
Yeah, that's right. Start giving them some work.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Well, position, yeah, for sure. Engineering and accounting.
All right,
Right.
for
But the majority of the people we've connected with have been other black guys.
I'm jealous.
But
Easy and
But,
Andre, how'd you guys feel being offered a job that I'm not saying like you weren't qualified for, but not enough just based on your color. Like they saw you.
I would take
That works for me, bruv. That works for me.
Yeah?
That works for me. Because why? Because I believe in myself. I believe I can do the job. So in other words,
Yeah.
if you gave me a job that was above my grade, but you also gave me some sort of training to do the job,
Yeah, so
Then
it's all
there's
predicated
no
on
reason
training.
why I couldn't do the job. But obviously I'd be an idiot to go for a job if I didn't think I could do the job. So the answer to your question is, if I went for a job and you gave me the job based on my color, then
I'm fucking taking
as
it.
far as I'm concerned, I got a job that I could do.
Yeah.
Otherwise I wouldn't have went for the job.
yep, same.
Well, that's
yeah.
that's what I
Yeah,
was going to say. And we've actually talked about this before, that privilege and bias aside, almost everyone wants to do better for themselves.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to pretend like if I went for a job and there's an equally qualified black guy applying for the job, I'm not stepping down. Like if the dude hires me because I'm white, that's not my fucking problem. All I know is I got the job I
course.
want to get.
Of
And I
course.
think
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
people, if
Yeah.
they're honest, are the same way. If you're
Of
offered a
course.
job, regardless of the reason, you're going to take the fucking job. And so at the end of the day, a lot of it's more about changing the way that larger corporations view people and view the hiring process. And again, it's so multifaceted, but it's the best solution so far that we've come up with to force that bias to go to the fucking back seat
Mm.
and attempt to hire
That's my
more.
point. That's my point.
Yeah.
It does. You have to force people because it's not going to happen otherwise.
Exactly.
It's funny because
And I
it's
think
funny
it's
because
reasonable.
funny
ahead.
because as a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, I do product design. So I design home accessory pieces, things like that, and I could not get a look in before George Floyd got murdered.
Mm.
I
Oh,
could
shit.
not get a look in. Yeah, could not get a look in. You know, you go to the company, you set the meeting up, you go, you know, you've got your products and what have you, and they're like, yeah, we'll call you.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Now, emails. Oh yeah, can we take a second look at you, what you're saying, and so on and so forth, and you know, are we still able to talk to you with regards to this and that? And I'm like,
That's fucking crazy, right?
what's changed? I'm thinking, what's changed?
But are you
you know,
complaining about that change?
I'm complaining that it took that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that to
understand.
happen.
but yeah, so that's what I
I
meant.
understand,
Isn't there
but-
like
That's
this,
a bit that sticks in my throat is the fact that it took, you know, it took a death, an 8-minute death, 9-minute death on national television for people's mindset to change. Now, are they doing it because they want change, or are they doing it to tick a box?
Yeah.
And feel good about themselves. Oh yeah, we've got this guy's pieces in our place.
Well, so
You know
I
what I
think
mean?
that brings up
That's
a interesting question. What's more powerful for social change? Something like that, like a Martin Luther King assassination, a George Floyd situation, to affect like almost permanent change, or legislation that puts in things that force people's bias. I think they work together, but which one do you think is more effective? And which one? Is
I think I prefer it if we didn't have to die.
yeah, that's right. Like
Yeah,
kids getting
yeah,
shot,
because it's-
like people getting shot in their homes.
It
Yeah,
tends
No,
to
no,
be us.
yeah,
I'm not arguing that that's a good thing, but I'm saying those type of
Yeah.
occurrences tend to further things further because they really further things.
Yeah.
I feel like they speed.
They become
up the things
they become a
that need to be-
catalyst.
They become a catalyst, right? And so we'll kind of like the Holocaust. I'm going to bring this in a big millions of Jews, even though Joey doesn't think it ever happened. But Holocaust,
What do
right?
you mean?
Oh.
let's circle back to that.
But
Jesus.
No, but because of World War II, because of the Holocaust, put us in a situation, technologically speaking and societally, that we probably wouldn't be at for another fucking 50 to 100 years, right? So it's not a good thing that it happened. obviously, but it did act as a catalyst for rocketry, for technology, for all these things that we've accomplished as a society, right?
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me about those things is they're horrible travesties. They never should have happened. But weirdly enough, more positive came out of those things than negative. Not at the time. I'm talking about if you look at an overarching time frame, right? Like I would rather us be 100 years behind in technology than have fucking millions of Jews be killed. I would rather have more people in the workplace and George Floyd still be alive, right? Like I would rather those things never have occurred. But the weird, and maybe this is a really shitty way of looking at it, but the positive things that have come out of those fucking catalysts, so to speak, of social change have been much more powerful than years of legislation could have ever been. Does that make sense? Like it's a weird thing to me. And I'm not commenting on it. I'm just saying it's an
yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me read this then. New York Times. Germany's, what you just said. Germany's post-war reparations program have paid $89 billion in compensation, mostly to Jewish victims of Nazi crimes over 6 decades.
Oh no, I know where he's going.
Right. So my question then is: are black people? Should we? Is it ridiculous for me to say that black people should get paid reparations?
Reparations.
I reckon they should. Shouldn't they? Like when you look at the context of
yeah, go on. What about you guys, BTF?
That's an interesting question because the situations foundationally are different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying no. I'm just saying it's an interesting thing to consider because the travesties committed by white people in the States against black people, not just like recent, but just over the years have been fucking enormous, right? It's been a lot of things. But, and the weird thing is the involvement and how a lot of those things evolved weren't just one race destroying another race. Does that make sense?
But
white people were the.
If we were to use like the context of America, do you think that like African Americans deserve reparations for
specifically in the States?
For hundreds of years of slavery? Do you think? Like if we just use that example for now,
if any race needs reparations, is Native Americans.
Yeah, but like
any race needs reparations, is Native Americans.
That's the point I was actually gonna make is that if I don't know how I feel about reparations.
Yeah, I'm torn about it.
But
what about the Jews? What about the fact that the Jewish people are being paid reparations? Do you think they shouldn't get it?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know how I feel.
Would you like another piss break so you can consider your?
Yeah, you're gonna call the lawyer again. What can I get away with?
Here's what I'll say, and it's a running joke. It's a running joke on our podcast that technically, literally, I could fill out anything to be called Native American. I have a tribal card. I've been accepted by a tribe. Like I would be considered Native American in the United States,
which is fucking stupid.
It's crazy. It is. It is. But it's real. That's just reality. And I've never once thought, man, I wish the government would give me some money. Because of what Native Americans.
But you're also like you're also a pretty white guy with it. Yeah, but that's right.
No, but I'm just saying, but it's never even crossed my mind to try to go after something like that because Trail of Tears and some of that stuff doesn't directly affect me at all.
But you also didn't grow up on a reservation in heavy poverty.
I understand
that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Those things
I understand
long-term effect. Like you have distant bloodlines, so it's a completely different argument.
But how many of the Jewish people in Germany right now are feeling the effects of the Holocaust, and it's affecting them?
I would imagine a lot.
I wouldn't think
anti-Semitism is
so
yeah.
Let me just jump in there before you guys go off on each other.
Rampant all, but I've been to Germany and I didn't see anything. I saw a very accepting.
Hey, Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, no. This is my time. This isn't your time. This is my time. So my question is,
who just said that? Wait, Andre, 1 second. Who just said when they went to Germany, they didn't see any Jewish people? Right. Okay. You sound like my ex-girlfriend's mother
I
who,
went to
when she went,
Turkey and I didn't
she went to,
racism.
she said she went to
No,
Sicily. She didn't see, any mafia.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
saying I didn't see any discrimination there. I actually saw a very diverse group of people there, and it didn't seem.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not. I don't know. I didn't spend a ton of time there, but I'm just saying, based on
You didn't go
what
looking. That's
small
it.
sample that I have.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
here's the thing though.
Uh-huh.
If I'm here in the South for a week and I
Sure.
go to some nicer restaurants, I go a couple bars, I'm never going to see any racism more than likely,
Maybe not.
which that
All right,
doesn't
let me
mean
just-
it's not
let me just
rampant
say-
here.
Let me just say this, Joey, because you said that I think you're not sure, or it's debatable, I guess. So how many people are being affected by what happened in the Holocaust now? So I guess
I think I would say black people in the United States are way more affected.
right,
by
that was going to be my question.
Well, I was going to say,
that
I
was
think
gonna be-
black people in the States are way more affected by slavery and racism than Jewish people in Germany are affected by the Holocaust.
So then the question comes back again.
Should they
Then.
get
So
reparations?
when I ask about reparations for black people, why would you think twice about it then?
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't know how I don't know if it should be or shouldn't be. If it came to be that the United States government decided to pay reparations, fine. And if they decide not to, fine.
I guess
Like,
my question would be, are you talking strictly financial checks in the mail reparations? Are
And
you
how are the Jewish victims being paid by? Yeah, they're being paid
No, they get-
ours money.
No,
but does that really do any good for them?
well, no, hold on.
I
Doesn't
don't think
hurt,
you're in a
man.
position to really make that call.
No.
If somebody gives you $1
Just to
million
break it
bucks,
up.
you're not going to be like, well, I'm sad about the $1 million.
No,
You know,
I'm
oh.
so let's separate the two just for a second. You just then hear me out. Current Jewish people could have a grandfather that was in a fucking concentration camp. Granted, it's different, but they have direct affiliation that they probably could have had stories about or possibly,
Sure.
seen a lifetime. So that's a slightly different effect than some shit that happened. And racism is still alive and well, but there aren't still slaves in the United States that haven't been for 150 years. So very few people are directly related to that. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't deserve reparations, but I'm saying comparing the two is a little bit different.
All right.
But here's my thing.
Well, let me answer that. Let me answer that. So what about the fact that you got black people in America who don't know nothing about their history because of what's happened, and that's a
And
direct
that's
effect.
not-
Hold on, let me finish. Culture. Black people got no culture, and that's because of slavery, and no real religion of our own. That's because of slavery. All those things are what brings you guys together. What things that you guys have that black people don't have. So I don't think you should underestimate any of those things. Culture is a huge one. So to say
that's where the fuck I was going.
So to
That's
say
where the
that it
fuck I was
doesn't.
going.
So say that it doesn't affect us because my granddad wasn't whipped. I think could be incorrect.
But that's not. Okay, so you cut me off where I was going with that, right?
Okay.
So I'm saying one ballpark, like say your family could be in complete poverty because of something that happened like within a generation of you. And so I understand the financial reparations. For me, in my opinion, especially with the African American community, reparations could, I shouldn't even say should, but to me, it makes more sense for absolute more reparations in the sense of free education, free healthcare, moving up, like taking care of that community and raising them up from the brokenness they came from. Because at the end of the day, if you're not educated, you're not going to make money in America. Or for the most part, that's a broad stroke. And so it would be much more beneficial than sending you $1,000 every month to fucking put you through college and then help you get jobs, help you with employment, give you a chance to reconcile some of those things that occurred. To me, it's a matter of what's the most beneficial for where you are. Is it a chance to improve your entire fucking life or to get a few bucks every fucking month? There's a whole difference in those two things.
Great answer.
That's a good
Can't argue with it.
So yeah,
Which is
That's
what
a
I was
fucking
gonna-
good answer.
well, that's where I was going to go as well. Is what good does the money do aside from give you money at the time to go spend on whatever?
But
you
once
want?
again,
It
mo-
doesn't
like
matter.
money gives you
It does
access
depend
as
on the
well.
amount of
Like
money.
money
How many
gets you.
times do you see in the United States where some very poor person wins the lottery and within the 5 years they're broke again and right back where they
but
were?
that's how you and I view things differently.
I understand
you view
that.
the fact that anyone that, or I should say, for the most part,
You were going to say
people
something,
that
Josh?
aren't going to appreciate it are going to blow it. That's
think
your
the
general mindset. And
like, like growing up poor, money gives you access. I think it like, and this like sort of translates across like any type of race. Like if you're poor, you're poor. But obviously over in America, it's still different because there's still systemic racism that holds people back from getting loans, from getting things that they need to move forward in their education. So once again, you can say, hey, we're going to give you free, we're going to give you free education. And like, how many of them are going to go like, yes, over money, and then, you know, how do you shift that? And then this is a question. It's not me saying like they're going to just take the check and run, but some people, like, I don't know what it is over there, but over here, emphasis on education isn't as high. Like, because America has a culture where it's based off, you need to go to top schools to get any type of job. You need to have an education. Whereas here, I'm asking, I don't understand it. Because some people here would prefer a cash amount deposit, like not reparations. Let's take reparations out. If they go, we'll give you free education or we'll give you free money. Right, most people don't want, or because we don't have the need for the education, where the money helps a lot more to get you out of that position.
Right. That's the thing. Let me just say
what I know. I can only speak on what I see and what affects us here. And in my opinion, put a single mom in college and take care of her fucking daycare and health insurance.
See, the problem with your premise, Steve, is straight away that you're talking about single moms, you're talking about education. There are plenty of black people in America that will have both families and an education.
Yeah. And
so they won't need that. So, So even though I think it's a great idea, it's not something that will be relevant to all black people in USA because many of them will have both of those already. And let me just also say one quick thing that if a financial compensation was deemed suitable for Jewish people, I'm still unsure of why it wouldn't be suitable for black people.
They should just give Jews free education.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I'm talking about specifically here in the States, right? Because that's all I can.
Me too. So am I.
Yeah. And so, and again, that's why I'm saying it's very multifaceted, right? Because I can tell you what's, in my opinion, what would probably benefit the majority of people because of the demographics here in the States. Now, that does isolate certain people that have an education, that have jobs. I understand that. So then you say, well, then what's the solution to that? Because you can never positively fix everything. Somebody's always going to get fucked in any situation, because that's human nature, A, and B, there's no one solution. If there was one solution, we wouldn't have economic debates. We wouldn't have fucking political parties. We wouldn't have all this shit. So there's no right way to do anything. There's better ways and there's worse ways. So how do you do one thing? Because again, I get talking here in the States, right? What's going to be more beneficial to an impoverished, say black family, because they already get, like, if under a certain amount, you get fucking housing, but it's shit fucking housing, and it's perpetual crime, and it's things that perpetuate. Like our government assistance is essentially designed to oppress minorities. That's how it's fucking designed.
Sorry to cut you off, but do you not see how that would impact, even if you have the best education, how that's not always going to impact you though? Like, no, regardless of where you're from and what you're doing, if you got no money and you're from a shit area, you're always from a shit area. Regardless of the quality of your education, they see where you're from, they see the way you speak, and they take that into account. And immediately
we call it a postcode. We call it a postcode lottery. We call it a postcode lottery.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it is, isn't it? So
postcode lottery. Yes, postcode lottery.
So even like I said, you can pay for these educations, and you can give them the world's best educations, and then if they go in there with any type of accent in their voice, any type of slang that they use, they're immediately going to be thrown out. They're going to be like, "Fuck your education, it doesn't mean shit here."
But that's a fundamental that even money, because how much are each one of those Jewish families getting? How much is every person getting? Is it enough to live on? Is it enough to pay bills? Is it how much? I get what Josh was saying. Money's money when you're poor. Period.
Yeah, but like. When your biggest stress in life, like I said, education for us, for me, and this is only me speaking of what I know. Education doesn't fucking mean shit when you can't eat. Like when your main focus is like, where the fuck am I going to eat? Like, where do I eat? But it's not even that. Like, are you sleeping on a mattress on a floor, like a fucking 20-year-old mattress? All the springs are busting it. You don't sleep right. You don't have heat. You know what I mean? Like,
but so what I'm saying isn't negating the need for giving a stipend or money, and I'm not saying that that's not valuable, because you could get fucking both. Like, we goddamn knows what the country could afford it. I guess I was
That's the
more
thing.
talking, Andre, about general reparations, right?
Yeah.
Like, not just taking one thing or another, because you could have a fucking whole deal of it. But just here in the States, long term, the issues that affect the majority of minorities is a lack of access to education, a lack of access to moving their lives forward, not just helping them in the Band-Aid situations that they're in. And so that's specifically what I was speaking to. And again, there's way more solutions. Having financial reparations would help people greatly. There's no doubt about that. I'm not denying the fact that money couldn't go a long ways, but it's only part of the solution and not the entire solution. It's kind of like American Indians. Okay, you don't have to pay taxes and you can build casinos, but your communities on those reservations are suffering from mega alcoholism, fucking rampant rape, rampant child abuse, like all these issues. And like, there's like the reparations that we've given to them have been fucking shit.
Is that
like, we've dicked them over as much.
Is that like so?
Reparations
Like
given to who?
the American Indians,
American Indians,
Native Americans,
Native Americans, Native Americans.
Native
Yeah.
Americans, yeah, not American Indians.
All right.
So, but Native
but I'm
Americans, like even then, like so, if we use those as a thing, you give them like you said, you're using this money sense as a thing, but you still segregated them to their own like little plots, and they still get treated differently when they're outside of it.
Yeah.
but that's
That's
gonna
the
be
issue,
the
isn't
thing.
it?
That's the bigger issue. That's the bigger issue outside of reparations is cultural viewpoints on how minorities are treated. So it's more than just reparations. It's more than just, hey, we had African Americans as slaves. It's more than just giving you fucking money. It's what needs to happen is a fundamental fucking change of mindset and of how things are done. And in the States, the best way to accomplish that is to get minorities in powerful positions and to give them opportunities to get in places where they can affect fucking change from the top fucking down. That's
Why can't they get both?
Yeah, that's right.
So is it an either or situation then?
That's it. That's
Is
all.
it being greedy? Is it being greedy to ask both then? Is it?
No. It's neither one. But if one had to be chosen, if you had to choose one or the other, which would you choose? The ability to change the cultural landscape or the ability to pay your bills every month? Both are important. If you had to choose one.
Also, like, all right, so if you guys, like, once again using America as a context where there's still this like racism, if you're giving them one or both, that is just going to be used as fuel of the fire to prop up the argument of dusty white dudes are like, well, you only get your education because we paid for it. Like, isn't that just going to further it? Like,
but isn't that any government provided program? Period. When they are giving you the thing, they hold the power.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing as, say, the like full on. And I'm going to use an extreme example because I should say extreme, but in theory, right, a government social health care is controlled by the government, meaning at any point in time, they could say, okay, we're banning this, this, and this if you want to keep on government health care. So they can control you based on what is being given. And that's my fucking conspiracy theorist ass going off. Because the thought of, because again, like, so Planned Parenthood here in the States, affirmative action, or I shouldn't say affirmative action, but Planned Parenthood, fucking our welfare system, all this shit was completely designed to keep minorities in their quote unquote place.
oh yeah,
These hard lines of you can't come here. We're not going to give you home loans in this area, but you can live here. All those are specifically designed to oppress minorities, period. The founder of Planned Parenthood here to provide abortion was to keep the black community in fucking check and keep them from expanding in the United States. That's why this shit exists. And so those are the issues. Like, don't get me wrong. I think reparations are a valid thing, and I think they're an important thing, but I think they're a Band-Aid fix for the larger issue that's going on. And again, I'm not saying they shouldn't happen. Andre keeps trying to fucking throw me in that goddamn corner where I'm saying
Coming out fighting, man. Keep coming out fighting.
I think it's good. And I'm not saying
He's
they're
coming
not
full
important.
circle. Let me go full circle to that one. Yeah.
Okay,
How
let
much
me
you
just-
gonna pay us?
easy, Andre. Would you consider?
they're valid.
Oh, sorry,
Go ahead, Josh,
just
sorry.
asking, like the boys from the UK. Would you consider yourselves candidates for reparations? Like you said, as it's not obviously just America based. Like how would you guys consider yourselves?
Yep.
That's a good fucking question.
Yes,
Okay.
there's no doubt that we're affected. There's
no,
no
of
doubt that we're
course.
affected. Just because I have a decent life, that doesn't mean that I haven't been affected by what's happened to black people. So
Okay, what about
So-
Pakistani people? And I don't know. I don't understand the full breadth of racism and discriminations in the UK. So I just know that when I was there for the short period of time for like a year or so, I saw more people hating fucking quote unquote Pakis than anything else in the world. Like it was everybody hated Pakistani people during that short time. So I
Okay,
guess
well,
I'm just
yeah.
I'm not compare.
Exactly, and that's what happens, isn't it? Racism happens to. I'm thinking right now it's against people from where? Who's the people that's taking the work as far as everyone's concerned? Easy,
Polish
Polish people.
Polish.
So my point is that you
Polish
get
people,
those
yeah.
those certain time periods, time frames. But oh no, easy. Let me finish this. But black people is a constant thing, and more
No,
importantly, let's not even talk about whether or not black people are hated at the moment. I'm talking about something which I know, look, you guys must think is boring by now, but I'm just going to go right back to what I said before. From slavery. So we're now in England. England's my home. The only language I know is English, even though we know that's not where my heritage language would be from. The only religion I have is the religion that was used to enslave people, and we know that Christianity was used for slaves. Yeah, is that something everyone would agree with?
Yeah,
Or not?
yeah.
No, yeah. It was-
Okay, so and now that very religion is the only religion that we appear to have. History, the only history I know about my people are slaves. Apart from that, everything else becomes a bit of a guess, a bit of a haze. We know we're from Africa. We're even having people saying that there were black people in Egypt, all those things. But all I know for sure is that my ancestors were slaves. Culture.
Okay.
What culture do I have?
White culture.
Now, again, to you guys, sorry.
Yeah, white people
He
culture.
said, "Wait,
Yeah.
Well,
No, that
and now
makes-
to you guys, religion, language,
Which is bland,
history,
which is
culture,
just
that
straight
might
up
not be
bland.
important. You guys might think, well, how important is that? I say without that, you're not a people.
Well, because I mean, can you get a good job if you don't act like a white person, or a better job for the most part if you don't? act
Well,
white?
I don't know now because
He hasn't been given the opportunity to.
I now act the way that I've been conditioned to act, the way that I know I can fit in and be what I need to
Get
be.
you further.
So, what would you guys consider like appropriate reparations? Like, what would you consider? Like, how would you
tell us when
how
the
would
next
you
question.
like how would you put a number or a figure or a thing? Like, you guys
To be
personally,
honest,
just
you know,
in your own opinion.
I think
24.95.
Steve was probably in the right direction in saying that it's not necessarily about money.
Yeah, but like
Cash money, yeah.
yeah, just like what would
Yes.
not when I say the amount, like what would it like say even the schooling thing, like how long would you run that for? Is that an indefinite, like if we're going to give impoverished communities of black people free schooling, and then like how long is it for? Like what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that all those things are only a beginning because it's as you said, Josh, that for all your schoolings and everything, if you still have a system where I commit a crime and you commit a crime and I do 10 years and you do 5 years, then you're always going to have a problem regardless. And that's just one of many things. So the truth is, I think that it's ingrained, and the only way it can really be resolved is over generations. And that's probably just a
That's
hope.
exactly what I was going to try to get to earlier.
Over
is that
generations, yeah.
I don't know that money fixes the problem. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Because I disagree with Josh a little bit that money gives you access. Because it doesn't matter how much money. There's plenty of clubs and groups in the U.S. that if you're black, I don't care how much money you got, you're not getting in. And that's wrong. It shouldn't be that way, but that's just the way it is. It's just the fact of the matter. But the point I was going to try to eventually get to is like, I think people like the 5 of us on here, and when we raise kids and we raise them with a different mindset and a different viewpoint on the world and other races and how no race is better than the other, you should be, in the words of Martin Luther King, judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin.
But that's assuming people are going to do the right thing.
That is assuming that, but I'm saying I think that is the best reparations that there is it's a generational thing of teaching kids differently. How is that not the best? I didn't say it's going to happen. I'm saying
that's
is that
not a reparation. That's just the right fucking thing to do.
Well, reparations just happens to be the word used.
Well put, Steve, and he's right.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm just saying reparations just had to be the word. I'm saying, I guess the way I should put it is the only way things change is generationally.
Okay, I agree, but let's put it this way. Like, take it very short term. Say that I came to your house, I robbed the shit out of you, I killed one of your fucking kids.
Well, you're in the States, I'm going to shoot.
No. I'm just saying, say I completely violated who you are. Could you take me to court and know what I owe you? Huh? I would owe you for damages, emotional distress. I would pay you, have to pay you millions if I had the money.
It depends, because there's a mathematical equation that they use in court.
But it would still be millions.
Is that the same equation? Do they use the same equation for black folks and white folks?
Probably not. No, probably not.
No, but Josh, I don't think they do, Andre.
No, I don't think they do. But Josh's question is a good question, and again, being paid financial reparations on top of all those other things cannot be a bad thing. It cannot be a bad thing.
Yeah, but I think
if it's being paid to other people, then why not?
I think you're right with the the 1-2 punch of it. Like once again, it's like when I say access, it's not access into particular things. Like I said, it gives you access to food. Like, you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. Like, the biggest stress of growing up poor is how am I going to get? I remember I used to have to stress in year 7 about how am I going to get to school. And I remember getting abused by teachers for it. And like, once again, mine is just a fraction of this, like a fraction of what other people go through. Sure. But I still had to dig myself out of the cycle. Like, my family still goes through it. And once again, this is one generation or maybe 1 or 2 generations.
Again,
not
outside of money.
and
Would that not be part of the education provided with food, with housing, with things that are base fucking human needs that are available?
For me, I think it's like, if you give people, like, imagine being in this situation where like you've been stepped on for fucking generations, and then like, we're gonna give you money, but we're gonna tell you how to fucking spend it. Like, you can only put it here, and you can only put it here, and we're gonna tell you have to live like Andre was saying. It's like, you have to live the way we lived to get to where we are. Otherwise, you're not getting it. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that what that is? Like, you have to do what we tell you to do with the money. Otherwise, you're not getting to where we are. We're not going to let you guys do it yourself.
Which is part of the reason I don't like the government putting their hand.
That affects everyone. No, I mean, minorities more so. But right now, you have to make this amount of money to live at this fucking level. If you want X, Y, and Z, it doesn't matter. If you're poor, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it's not harder to get ahead. I'm just saying, if you're poor, you have very limited options. If you want government assistance, you're told X, Y, and Z. If I want to make it up to a certain level in a company, I have to do X, Y, and Z. There's someone above you that's always in control of what you have to do to get to the next level. That's fucking human nature. That doesn't matter where you are, where you live.
But don't forget what we're talking about.
Yeah, but
we're talking about reparations, though. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about righting wrongs. That's what we're trying to. That's what I'm trying to keep everyone in that mind. We're talking about righting a wrong, and I'm assuming everyone here concurs that there was a wrong. A wrong has been done.
Yes, but that statement, righting wrong. Is there anything that can be done? And I don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm asking. Is there anything that can be done that rights that wrong?
Yep.
That's a good question, and the answer is probably no. If someone kills, if someone murders your brother or whatever, and you send him to prison or whatever you do, you still can't right that wrong, but nevertheless you do something. You
can make it better.
So again, I'm not saying that financial aid will right the wrong, but at least it's a step in the right direction. At least it shows that you're trying to do something rather than just saying, "Oh, it happened years ago."
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't me.
I tend to agree with
it wasn't me argument.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Fucking hell. But I didn't do it.
And I'm willing to.
I didn't have slaves. You're like, fuck off, man.
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to the question, but I agree with some form of what everyone has said here. I agree with a little bit of everything. I don't know what the answer is, but if you will allow me to play the devil's advocate or whatever term you choose for anything,
of course.
Where does it stop?
Which is what Josh said.
Yeah, but where does it stop? I don't remember hearing an answer to the question.
No, but this is the thing, and this is I think this is what people's problem with it. They think, look, this has to go on for millennia, like, but it's like, when did slavery stop? You know what I mean? Like,
well, there's
like
more
you guys keep trying to put a date and a time. Like, it stops when shit gets better, right?
Oh dear. Are these slaves that are in the world right now? Are we stripping of their name and their religion? Are we whipping them? Are we doing those things as well? Who are these slaves?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, it's, you could make people, and I can only speak from the States really and truly, but like, people will say, this is the worst time to be a minority in the United States than there ever has been. That's just completely untrue. Like, I'm not saying it's a good time to be a minority in the United States. But would you rather live in the States right now as a minority or 70, 80, 120 years ago? When would you rather?
Yeah. No, there's no doubt.
But
that, people like myself, we probably can't even really imagine some of the horrors that went on.
No, we can't comprehend it. Yeah. We can't even comprehend the bullshit and drama that our parents went through. And we know they went through shit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the point they're making.
For us to have, for us to get some semblance of an education and easier upbringing and so on and so forth, and then our grandparents went through. So we can't, like you said, we can't comprehend it at all. It's just crazy.
I think questions like, where does it all end? To me, that it's almost like pushing the problem to the side.
You're stopping it before it even starts.
Where does it all end? I don't know.
Because nobody.
Let's just start before we decide where it's going to end.
I think the thing is that's exactly right. You can't start it because it's already ended. Like, there's no definite answer on when it ends. So they're like, well, we're not going to start it. Like, and how do what happened? Like, all the black people get together in the world and they're like, well, let's discuss how long this is going to go. It's not going to happen, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sure, but I'm not saying you should start it because you don't know where it's going to end. I'm just saying, where is the end? Like, where does it? What generation comes along where you say you're not affected by this anymore? And maybe that never happens. I don't know. I'm just posing the question.
Maybe every period of time, 20 years or whatever, you review the situation. Are black people now being treated equally? Are they being given the same sentence for the same crimes? Are they having access to the same education? And if the answer to all those questions are yes, then it's time to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem with that is who gets to make that decision? Who's currently, if you went by the U.S. government, that would be an unfair decision being made. It's majority white people.
Like Dusty White dude's going, no, they got it good. They're all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
and if you put that,
you guys are democracy, right? It's all done to votes. Like,
no, it's not a vote.
Let's put it to a vote.
I will say, I will say in general, and I think most of us would agree in the areas that we're in, regardless of country, regardless of governmental style, comparatively to a lot of other places, we all have it pretty fucking good. Like, I get the fact that all of this and a lot of it is ideals and hypotheticals and what should be done and what shouldn't be done. But at the end of the day, and maybe some of us more than others, but we have it a hell of a lot better. Well, especially you guys that your ancestors did, right? And not that justifies not wanting it. My point is, I feel like that gets lost sometimes. Like, a lot of the things that we're discussing with reparations and things, they're important discussions to have. Cultural equality are very important discussions to have. And it's not one or the other. Before Andre fucking tries to pin me into a goddamn corner.
You're doing a good job of doing that yourself.
No. No, so what I'm going to say is, but a lot of these discussions, although important, are less or should be, I think, less concerning than the overall first world consciousness of what's going on in a lot of the rest of the world. To me, there's a lot of more pressing issues that could be dealt with where we are before we come back to this. And again, it's not either or, Andre, so fuck you. But what is right now. I mean, you still have major issues in the Congo. You have major issues.
But do you not see how that's like just pushing the issue? And there's always going to be problems in the world. And you're like, no, we'll get to you in a minute. We'll get to you in a minute. We're going to go.
Why would you concern yourself with issues in the Congo when you've got issues right here?
No.
Sort out your own issues.
That's what I'm. That's why I said don't corner me. I'm just saying there tends to be more focus on these types of issues that do things that are affect things worldwide. That again, it's not either or. God damn it! But these are the big discussions that we tend to have in more privileged countries. Period. And again,
don't put Steve in the corner.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody put Steve in the corner. Nobody put Steve in the corner.
No, hold on. I'm privileged as shit, and I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit about the Congo. I don't give a shit about Asia. All I care about is me and my family. That's the end of the like. These
I thought Steve was saying that I'm privileged to be able to bring this conversation up. Is that? I thought that's what you're saying.
I'm privileged as shit, and I recognize it. But I'm not going to fucking work to make it less. Because at the end of the day, I'm taking care of my family and I'm taking care of myself. And
yeah, and that's what some black people do. You know, some black people they're living a good life. So they'll say, no, there is racism's. There's no such thing as racism, and all those sort of things because they're living a good life. Now, my life's decent, but it doesn't mean that I'm blind to the fact that there's 100%. A lot of shit going on.
100%. My thing is, as a general logical, like again, thinking completely. Because I completely compartmentalize, right? I have no emotional ties to any of this shit. Part of that's being white. Part of it's legitimately having fucked up brain chemistry on my part. And so, like, I look at like all these individual problems at all being equally as in fucking important. It doesn't affect you day to day, Andre. It doesn't affect Easy day to day, the shit that's going on, but they affect some people day to day. And maybe you say, hey, you deal with your own problems. Fine. But I'm just saying one problem is not more valid than the other. One's more widespread in first world countries, and it affects you guys every day. That's why you care about it more than the fact that you care about shit that's happening to people other places. Yeah, because we're selfish as fuck, and we only care about our own situation. Yeah. And your situation affects a huge amount of people, but not the majority of African Americans across the globe. That's my point.
Okay, it's a point, but like everything else, I've got to look after myself before I can look after anybody else. Even my family, I have to be in a good place before I can look after my family. I have to be in a good place 100%. Before I can look out for other black people. Otherwise I'm just busy struggling to live.
That's my point. That's my point. We're all selfish, and we all want the best that we have, and we have cultural ideas. Places, our ideal is the place that we think we should go as a culture and as a people, and we know the things that would be beneficial. The specifics of those are all debatable, right? As far as what's best, what's not best, because there's 1,000 different solutions to get to 1,000 different places. But at the end of the day, you want the best for your family, Andre. You want the best for your family, Easy. You want the best for you and your family, Josh. At the end of the day, and that's part of the fucking problem, because like I've said 1,000 times, nobody really wants equality. Everybody really wants the best for themselves and their fucking family. I don't give a shit about what happens to you in your personal life if my family's taken care of.
I think all black people want is equality. I think that's all we want, bro.
I don't, because human nature would say, human nature would argue with that across the country.
No. Once we get it, we might want more. Right now, we just want equality.
Yeah, we want a level playing field. A level playing field.
Yeah, we might want more after that.
Level playing field. Yeah.
I agree. I'm just talking human nature across the globe.
I know.
Like in the short term, this is what we want. In the long term, it's never enough, because as human beings, we want power. That's why white people have been in control for so goddamn long. We got
I was going to say,
let it fucking go.
I guess that's like what got everybody into this position is like people wanting more and more. Like you got to think like racism and even like all the slaves and stuff wanted people. They wanted more and they wanted it for nothing. Yep. And they took it
because culturally, the way you might do things, Andre, is a threat to my overall way I was raised. So if I strip you of that culture and I take away the places that you've been and invalidate your entire fucking life experience, I stay in control. And at the end of the day, that's the issue. That's the issue. It's not, again, none of these other things are unimportant. But at the end of the day, the core issue is I've had control for a long fucking time, and I want to keep that control. So whatever it takes to keep you in a place of a lack of that and squash your opportunities as a culture. That's what the fuck's going to happen. That's the human history throughout fucking time. And I don't care how much we evolve societally, being woke, whatever the fuck is, at the end of the day, people are still selfish fucking cunts.
So I have a question to pose before that. I want to say to
Josh has got something to say
to Angela Lee and Janine Roach or anyone else that's watching, listening, whatever. If Angela had made the comment that we're not engaging the audience, so the numbers on the audience. Well, no, I mean, the numbers on the bottom of the screen. WhatsApp, Google Voice. If you're in the U.S., you can just straight up call or whatever. The numbers on the bottom of the screen. If you want to make a comment, just call. We'll answer the phone. But sure. I wanted to ask, as far as slavery goes, do you think that slavery was
I have to pee so bad.
Yeah, of course you do.
Do
you think that it was because of race? Do you think slavery was because of race or because of opportunity?
Both.
Do you think it would? Do you think that it would have been? That's what I say. Do you think if the tribes that came upon in Africa had been white, there would have still been slavery? And I don't know the answer.
Can't answer that.
I have only thought about that in the last 5 to 10 minutes. I've never considered this.
I said something to Andre before we discussed this, just touched on it briefly, and something that my mum says with regards to slavery. She said that it was she called it the 3 C's. I don't know if you remember. Andre said Christianity, colonization, and commerce, and that is slavery in a nutshell as she sees it. That's what happened. Came with a good book, which I really don't intend to look at, and enslaved black people and made money. And that's what it is, as far as as far as I'm concerned. You look at it and you think, yeah, that's exactly how it is. It was just a case of money. And would the same thing happen to white people? Could be. Josh? It's a power thing.
I reckon
it's a power thing.
I think you look at like modern day slaves, right? I think they have complete disregard for at the point it's color, it's power, I guess. So, these people had power over these other people and they forced them to do stuff. And that still happens today. It's not like slavery is completely abolished. It's abolished of what we know and we want to see, but sex slavery is still incredibly high. Like it's even worse now than it's ever been. So
sorry.
Yeah,
my answer. Oops,
sorry, you go.
Can't wait, can I? Yeah, my answer is that it probably would have happened, but I doubt it would have happened for the length of time that it did. And don't forget, the color is relevant because of the color, it was easier for us to be looked upon as less human.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was based on primarily color.
Yeah,
and of course,
and I think that still exists.
Sorry.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Joey, then yes, I think it would have happened. Slavery would have still happened, but not to the scale or the length of time that it did.
Well, I guess when you look at it like that, even with like the Jewish thing. So when World War II, like the whole propaganda started kicking off, the way they got numbers to really like get behind them was to dehumanize Jewish people. Yep. So they started calling them.
That's correct.
They started calling them rats and cockroaches and all of this to dehumanize and take them out. So and then once again, if you can define them by anything else, they started putting badges on them. They started shaving their heads to separate the look. So once again, when the skin color is different, obviously that's an easy one. And then what were they? They were dogs or whatever, and they gave them a name, and then that's what they were. They weren't human; they were below it. So, but I think I agree. It's like, if there were white slaves at the same time in the same length, the same period of time to the same amount, they could have blended in different. They could have, changed the way they looked or acted. So even like Andre was saying, it's like you act the way you need to get by in a world that wasn't designed by you. So whereas at least a white person can just do that and fit in. And sort of that generational length wouldn't have been as long, because over generations you could teach your kids to act like this, walk like this, and you'll fit in. So then,
Well, because interestingly enough, there's
Assimilation.
no difference in the way that I was raised and the direction I need to go professionally. Whereas the culture that you're raised in when you're a child, if it's completely different than the other culture, even though it's still heavily influenced, you still have to assimilate and change the way you are, which is fucked up in and of itself. I worked with a guy for a long time when I was much younger, and when I was like 18, 19. He was it was a sales job, like electronic sales, all that shit. And he culturally spoke like where he was from. Like you said, the way he spoke, the way he dressed was culturally where he was from. And he couldn't sell shit because all the majority white people came in were scared as fuck of that kid. So he had to learn to put on a polo shirt, to change the way he spoke, to change the way just to fucking make a living. And
There's a
he had to look safe.
there's a movie
exactly.
a movie on Netflix that perfectly describes this. There's a guy in a black guy in a sales job, and his best advice to move up the ranks is to use your white voice, and then he has to
Yeah, I know
completely
exactly what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
It's called
Yeah,
But yeah, we get that. I mean,
it's the one with Danny Glover.
yeah,
it's one with
that's the
Danny
one.
Glover,
Yeah.
Yes.
well, it's close to the truth because, yeah, you know, we grew up with white parents. We grew up with black parents who talk to us a certain way.
did?
They're using patois, which isn't really recognized as a language of whatsoever. So then when we go to school, or definitely by the time we start going to college or looking for work, you know, we have to put all that aside and try to speak what's probably classed as more educated.
Yeah.
And that's
I think
that's
isn't
reality, it's not
that
necessarily more educated.
that's the issue with it, right? Like it's immediately deemed because I don't understand you at an
Right.
educational level that it is you're not educated and you have no sense of
Yes.
intellect at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
so
I might
if
speak
I'm-
one way amongst my friends, but definitely at work,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I speak a lot more clearer, a lot less broken English. Yeah.
So if I may, so I know I've played definitely the role of the loudmouth fucking American tonight. I've fucking ran my mouth so
we love you,
fucking
man.
much.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. No, but I want to say in all sincerity, two parts. One is the fact that I recognize the fact that most of the opinions that we have come from the background we were raised in, right? And so we try to be open-minded. I think that I'm very open-minded, but at the end of the day, I don't have your experience. I don't have your cultural background. I cannot, no matter how hard I might try, view things the way you view things because my experiences have been fundamentally different. And so I think a big part of the issue is a lot of people aren't willing to have conversations like this to have an understanding between the two. And that's one thing I greatly appreciate, like to be sincere for a minute, and I'll talk about fucking fist raping somebody, but I legitimately appreciate these type of discourses and conversations. I mean, that's one reason I love you guys, all of you, because you guys are willing to have these conversations and we can argue.
Oh.
And Andre likes to be a dick and try to put people.
But like you said, yeah, like you said, it's not too many scenarios that I know where I can have these sort of conversations, especially without it turning a little more aggressive or people just don't want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys, you know, not only listening, but actually trying to answer these questions because I know these questions are difficult.
Oh yeah.
But I think this type of thing is the key to make substantial change, right? Not like us, but people being willing to have fucking hard conversations and being willing to have their perspective and minds changed. Like one of the things I appreciate you guys, and I don't give a shit about a lot of things, but like I always come away with something at least to process that helps me view things differently outside of my general
makes us think.
mindset. Yeah. And so to me, that's a fucking awesome thing. Like that's the great thing about these conversations and this particular like joint collaboration show that we do, because we cover this shit and it's something that I very much appreciate. I mean, Andre and Easy, obviously not Josh because he's white, so fuck him.
Right.
But like you guys, I really appreciate. No, but in all sincerity, like I really love this shit. Not to change subjects, but like I think this type of thing is so important for like future change, like teaching our kids and to be open-minded enough to be able to talk about hard things and ask hard questions and be able to say, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't understand where you're coming from. I can admit the fact I will never have your experience, but being able to talk about it and hear you and genuinely hear you and listen makes a big fucking difference in the long term.
Do you guys think these conversations would be different if it was face to face? Like, so if you look at the context of this, like
I have to admit,
I have to admit, I don't think it would be actually. I know
I
I
don't
wouldn't be.
think-
I'd be exactly the same.
That's
No.
mad.
Well, I guess it kind of depends if you were having the conversation here in the States where everybody is a free range. No,
Yeah.
I'd have to get escorted out, wouldn't I? Probably.
to piggyback a little bit on what Stephen, like, I don't have the same. I've had a little bit more experience than Stephen, just having to live it through my wife and kids, but it's still not the same experience as Andre Easy, or even
Mhm.
the same experience as my wife and kids. But yeah, I mean, just to echo now, Stephen, is like, I love having these kinds of conversations with people because it does always give me something to think about.
Well, something I've always appreciated, and like I said, I've worked with a couple people that came from a very different background. I've had a couple friends out of the military. One was openly gay, was actually one of the first women in the Coast Guard to come out and get married, like within, it was a very public thing, but here in the States. But regardless of that, like, I always appreciate having friends that I can ask ignorant and stupid questions to, and they don't get offended and then get pissed with me because I don't know. And I'm never going to be able to learn if we can't talk, and I can't ask you stupid fucking
Don't
questions.
ask if you don't. Yeah. Yep.
So I appreciate you, motherfuckers. Is what I'm getting at.
So,
No, I do like the perspective of you guys. You know, when Andre asks, you know, the difficult questions, as he likes to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I do like your comeback. It's
definitely.
enlightening. It's enlightening.
I
Definitely
don't like
enlightening, you know,
talking
so yeah,
smarter than me. So,
much
you know,
much
goddamn-
respect.
in an effort to bring this full circle, do you feel like Josh said something, I don't know, 20 minutes ago that sparked this, but it was about Jews and these people, talking about these people are less.
And that was a shit comparison, by the way. But I was, you know,
No, I'm going to say, Josh was saying like these people are less, so now we'll tag them and we'll give them the number and a badge and whatever. It's like, do you think that that's a little bit of where we're going with the vaccination status with COVID right now?
That's all right. No, hold
back
up.
to that.
I could
Back to that.
no.
Like I said, full circle.
Not even,
I don't think it is.
it's not even fucking close, man. These people
No,
died.
I don't think, yeah, it's not close. Yeah.
These people
I'm not
fucking
saying
died.
is it the same thing. Are we gonna? I'm not asking. Are we gonna start exterminating or gassing or enslaving people that aren't vaccinated? But I'm saying
should.
it's a. I'm saying it's a new world
Look.
now that where we discriminate against people based on your political affiliation and the things like that now, especially in the United States. It's the progressives and the right wing right now is the biggest thing that, and it's the loud minority of the two that you hear everything about, but there are absolutely people, and even some of them in power in politics, that want everyone. And I think, Josh, I think you mentioned that Australia is doing a little bit of this in some place, or trying to anyway.
Mhm.
If you're not vaccinated, there's certain things you cannot go and do.
It's so different, though.
It is. It's
look,
a more modern.
like, look.
We whispered that.
I think it's yeah,
One,
like nobody would hear it.
one,
Everybody.
it's based on choice.
I
You
understand
have
that.
no choice the race that you are. It's
No.
completely fucking
I
different
understand
thing.
that.
You can't
That's
draw
why I
the
said it's.
comparison.
That's why I said it's a
It's
more
a terrible-
modernized version.
All
It's
right.
not a more modernized
It
version.
is, absolutely.
They're like
I-
husband and wife, them two.
Yeah.
Get a room.
Doesn't it like it just boils down to
24 years of
people
freedom.
needing to be better than other people, right? Like any scale of it, there's larger scales of it and smaller scales, racism and stuff being at the top, and this is just a low run. I think we've got it pretty good in terms of the world, like as a whole. Like things aren't horrible, you know. It's not a world war going on. We got it okay. So now we've found this one thing that we can, as a globe, get behind. You're either vaccinated or you're not, and you're using it as a social currency to one up yourself.
Spreadnik.
Fuck is spreadnik?
What's spreading it?
I don't even want to
What is
know.
spreadnik? What's
You're
spreadnik?
making a valid point, and you
Hey,
interrupted by
that's
putting
why
a
I didn't say
t-shirt in.
anything.
Fucking
I was
spread
trying
Nick.
to. I was trying to. No. Finish your thought, and then I'll tell you what it is.
I'm all fucked up from this spreadnik now. What is it?
You spread neck.
So
Yeah.
we had a guy, and the joke was, really
It was a
country
prank call, yes.
Southern people they call them rednecks, right? Like, it's just a fucking redneck. I don't know if you guys have that term.
Yep.
But so the joke is because a lot of really Southern redneck people are super anti-vax, and they're super anti fucking COVID ain't real. It's a conspiracy. It's Bill Gates. All that bullshit. And so the funny thing is, this dude called and said he was a spreadneck, meaning he'll spread the virus and doesn't give a shit. And so we had shirts made
People were calling him that.
So we
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Josh,
Okay.
you were making a very valid point, and then Joey was a cock.
You know
and
what?
put his
I
fucking
didn't
shirt
say
up.
anything. You're the one that brought light to it.
You
I could
can't-
see that.
There
Andre
they go again. There
To
they
be
go
fair,
again.
you can't not see a red shirt in a black room. Like it stands out.
I want your opinion. Was Joey being a fucking cunt in
No.
that situation?
You guys are all good. It's all gravy, baby.
All gravy.
I don't know,
Okay,
like,
anyway.
but I guess every situation like that's a little different. Like Australians once again are pretty free flowing, and like if somebody comes up to me and like, "Are you vaccinated?" I'll gladly tell them to go fuck themselves. I'm like, I don't need to talk to you. Get out of my face. Like, but there's zero to no repercussions of anything here. Where I think somewhere like America, where it's a little bit more politically divided, and whether you are or not is attached to those political sort of that left and right type thing. People can't talk politics without getting mad at each other, and then mad turns into aggression. Aggression turns into what you have now, of like people rioting and fighting on the street over something that stops you from dying. And you know what I mean? It just it's not a vaccine. It just stops you from dying. Like take it or don't. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't know.
Yeah, your life doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit.
Like take
So,
it. But
I want to ask the Juxtaposition boys a question because it kind of got skipped over with all of our fucking, or mostly me being an asshole and ranting too much. So, as far as just backing up just a second, the reparations go, the making up for the shit things that happen. What do you guys think are the best or some of the best solutions for reparations or to move the African American race forward and heal from the shit that happened? I want to know you guys' perspective because us three fucking ranted about this shit, but you guys, all Andre did was be a dick and try to play devil's advocate. So I want to know you guys' actual opinion.
Easy.
I think Andre just opened the door.
I must admit, during the discussion, my thought was, with regards to, should it be hard cash or education? And I think what best sums it up is the fact that what's the story about the if you give a guy
a man
a
of fish, he'll eat
you
for a
can feed him
day.
for the one. You can feed him for the one time, but if you teach him
He'll eat forever.
to fish, he
Yeah.
can fish for however long. And that's my thought on it. That's my
Unless
thought
white
on it.
people run the
You
river,
know,
don't let them.
Can I ask something? Why
What
do
did he
you?
say? What did he say?
Unless
I
white
said
people run the river. And
Yeah,
run it.
that's right. Why do you guys still call them African Americans? Like, aren't they just Americans at this point? Like, why is there
That's
like
how
a
we're
weird
made.
separation between? Like,
No. I
Americans?
completely agree with what Josh is saying because I know a white guy, before I moved to, I knew a white guy that was from South Africa, and he called himself an African American one time, and he was shut down fast.
It's still
doing that.
pretty common in this culture or in our
Yeah.
culture to get corrected. Like, no, it's not black, it's African American. So that's just
Yeah.
Here in the UK, we are still classed
We
as
prefer-
black British. We're not
Black-
just British, we're black British.
I
And what was
remember you
interesting,
saying
yeah, and we did a program, black people in England, English. And I got a lot of kickback, people saying, I don't care what you say, I am. But when we looked into it, there is no forms that I can sign to say that I'm English. There are only black British forms that I can tick. Censuses
Really?
or anything. If I get stopped by the police and they ask me my ethnicity, there's none that ask me, I can't tick English. Or in fact, there's no English, it's white English.
Is that crazy?
But
It's
yeah,
a little bit.
that's fucking
It's a
crazy.
little bit the same way. in
yeah,
the
we're
US,
not.
though.
There are no. Yeah, we're not English. We're Black British. There's nothing in England
Alright,
that tells
so-
us
We're not.
that
We're
English.
not defined.
Yeah, Easy and
we're
Andre.
fine.
Is that like a bit of a slap in the face? Like, do you find it as like
Of course, it's a.
like a form of like segregation? Like, you guys don't come under British or what is it, Black British?
Well, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But what happens is, as always, what black people
Well,
do.
we're British. We're British if we win the World Cup.
Yeah, that's right.
If we lose,
yeah, they say that. Yeah. Well, you got black people in the English
then there's a
football
point.
team.
Yeah.
There's a point.
Like LeBron's just
There's a point of
American.
discussion to be had if we lose.
But the answer to your question is that, like most things, black people, they'll say, I don't care. Deep down, we bloody care because we born here, we grew here, we care. But what are we going to do? So we say
That
we
was-
don't care. Don't want to
That
be
was
English.
exactly my next question. I was going to ask you that
I guess
exactly. So,
you know it can't. You know what? I guess that answer there, Andre, is like what Steve said. Okay, As long as I'm sorted, my family's sorted, I'm good.
You see, so that's what
we don't.
That's just what we have to tell ourselves. You see,
Yeah. That selfish view that Steve mentioned earlier. Yeah, that's what.
No, that's not selfish. That's something we do to protect our true feelings. That's really what it is. Deep down, we're born here. Of course, we're English. But if you're saying we're not English, then I don't want to be English. I class myself as my parents from Caribbeans, so I class myself as Caribbean. Even though the truth is, if I go there, they'll class me as English. This is exactly what I'm talking about, though. This is exactly what I'm talking about black people and the problems that we're still in. Now, Steve was saying basically that we've got it good and maybe
comparatively, God damn it,
God damn it, Steve, you redneck.
It's all relative. It's all relative. So the things that aren't good, but we have to brush those aside and concentrate on the stuff that is good. But all the time there is shit going on in the background, which we have to ignore or pretend doesn't happen or whatever. But which at the end of the day, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But you asked the question, and we're not. Yeah, I mean, they're born in England, but I'm not English.
That's right. And you can't go. Right. You're not Caribbean either. Yeah, you know what I mean. You can't go anywhere.
My parents are from the West Indies. Yeah. I can go there. Yeah, they're not going to turf me away, but they'll see me as English. In fact, they'll call me English. In fact, when I used to go to the barbers, and they're little guys from West Indian backgrounds, they used to call me English there.
That's actually a very interesting thing. So thinking about that logically all the way through, a lot of black people have to feel very disenfranchised and very separated because you don't have, like you said, a specific culture or something specific to relate to. Here it's African American because most of black people were brought from Africa, right? For yourself, like, so there's a lot of black people don't have a fucking home, so to speak, like something that they're fucking founded in, something they can trace back. It's fucking so scattered and basically almost been destroyed over the years. That has to be a very fucking weird place to be.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. That's not just us. That's the same thing with the African Americans. They're called African Americans, but they were born in America. Their parents were born in America. Yeah. Their grandparents were probably born in America or the West Indies, but they're still called African Americans.
I find it like
they're in the same position.
I find it odd.
I've never thought about it in that light. Sorry, Josh.
Oh, sorry. Like I always found it odd that like you said, they're all American, and like any sort of attachment to Africa for an African American is an immediate like
segregates.
Like we took you from there, and then everybody insists on still calling them that. I find that odd.
No. You mistake that. That's a big part of the black community here. Is they want that designation. They're proud of that heritage.
Once again, are they only doing it because you're calling them it, and they're like, "Fuck it," like just give it. Like
we weren't asked. Hey, Steve, we weren't asked. They weren't asked. Do you want to be called African? They have no choice but to embrace it.
But no. That's what I'm getting at. Because of what they were stolen from and robbed of is something. It's a source of pride. And again, I think it's a source of what. It's a response of it's a
pride
source of pride. Better way, it's a source of pride because that's the heritage they can pull back from. And I'm not saying that's right. Part of that is, I think, in direct response to the discrimination, to the being stepped on, and to the erasure of the culture. It's like, hey,
could that be?
This is still something I have to identify with. Does that make sense? Could that be, I'm not wording it well.
Like,
it's not eloquent.
Isn't it like, to me? Wouldn't it be similar to like the N word? You know what I mean? It was used in such a horrible sense, and then they've taken the word on their own, but they've had to take it. But the thing is, it's like Josh, they're not using it as a pride thing. They've taken it from other people because they didn't want them to use it anymore.
I agree, and I think it's cool. I just know the couple conversations that I've had and the questions that I've asked, that has something that has come up, and it could be the individuals that I've spoken with. I fully understand that, and not the general mindset of a people.
With regards to the term African American, it could well be a case of the fact that they wanted to be called African American as opposed to be calling colored.
Yeah,
that's one word. Yeah. When I first moved up here, they still used it up here.
What?
Where I am in Scotland.
I've never understood. No. All right, let me just say, I've never understood why black people are offended by that.
No, because like in America it was segregated, right? There's the whites and the colored. You couldn't
by the word colored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand what Josh is saying, but the reason why I don't get offended by it, because normally, like everything else, I'm less concerned with what you say and more concerned with the intent. So I know there was a thing on TV, I think, where someone mentioned the word colored and she got lambasted and all this sort of stuff. And in my parents' generation, if you had called them black, that was offensive. Because of course everyone knows in those days after black there was another word. Now we've embraced the word black, and even though our skin isn't black,
right,
we take the term because that's what we're being called. We take the term and we now embrace it. The N word, like Josh said, our parents they still are probably devastated the fact that we have now taken the N word and we chuck it around aimlessly. Of course, like Josh said, we do it because we take it because in doing that we try to, I guess to some extent we've disarmed the words. It's no longer as lethal because it was lethal back in the day.
That word. Listen, I don't care. That word is still lethal. I don't care what anyone, black or white, says. That word is still lethal. As you and I discussed again, Andre, that word for me is the most disgusting word.
Here's what I mean by lethal. Here's what I mean by lethal, Easy. Back in the day, if someone said that word, that would hurt me to the core. And after that, there's no more talking. It's a fight. Now, if someone says that word to me, it doesn't hurt me to the core. We're still going to fight, but it's not going to hurt me to the core because it's just a word now. I know it doesn't mean as much to me.
And what did I tell you happened to me 2 days ago?
Oh yeah, you're still getting it in
Thursday.
Yeah,
right.
It's still happening.
The guy leaned out of his window and shouted at me, "You nigger!"
Yeah, still happening.
What?
2021. And I told you,
Holy shit!
I don't get that. Then that's the basis of Scotland.
You know what?
Yeah, Scotland.
It's the third time this year this has happened. The third time this year this has happened. Okay, twice it was the N word, twice it was nigger, and the time before it was black bastard. Okay, so nah.
Easy have to be easy is very good.
I want to know why who did? No, the first time I didn't.
You called the police and all that shit. That's that.
No, I didn't call the police. That was Thursday. I called the police.
No,
the first time when the guy
that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do.
That is definitely the right thing.
No,
to do.
the first time.
Hold up.
The first time I gave the guy a fresh slap.
Isn't but all right? So
I gave him one of them.
Do you know what the crazy part is? Like if somebody calls you that and you hit them, you're the asshole for it. Like it's sort of like you know what I mean.
Well,
that's what.
It sort of like reafirms what they're saying.
Here's
you
the
know,
thing.
it's so.
Josh, here's the thing. Like I said,
so what should we do then, Josh?
No, I have no idea, man. I couldn't even put myself in that position.
That's what they used to say to us at school. Oh, just ignore them. If you them, fuck that shit.
No, but I'm not saying don't punch him. Yeah, handle your shit, man.
Back it up. Now, look, so what happened to me was the first guy said to me, "Black bastard," and I slapped him right across his jaw. The second time, the first guy who said nigger was black.
Was that
what?
Was black, walked up to me. One of my idiot. Yeah, idiot. Yeah, look, came through the door, said to me, "What's up, my lick?" And I went, "Don't you ever." And I went to town on him.
Hold on.
Yeah, no. Listen. No, if I'm not going to accept it from a white guy, I'm not accepting it from a black guy. Like I said to you, I hate the word.
What did he say? What did he say?
The word end of.
What did he say?
What's up, my nigga? I said, I'm not your
No. What did he say after you left him?
Okay, you know what he said after me? After that, he said, "Well, that's how we greet each other in Nigeria." And you know what my reply to him was, "We're in Edinburgh. We're not in Nigeria. Don't talk to me about that."
But my point is this.
I wouldn't accept it from Josh or Stephen. I wouldn't accept it from them.
Good call.
Okay, so why would I accept it from
now I know how to get. Next time we have a debate, I know how to push it.
Yeah, that's right.
You do that conversation between us will be very, very short. Trust me. On that note, guys, I've got to go because I've got to go and visit my pregnant daughter.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I'm out.
Hey,
guys.
yeah. Love you too, you fucking sexy bitch.
Okay. One
All
too
right,
Take
many.
it easy, man.
So I actually had a quick question, and he had to bounce off. And this is Andre, because I'm going to ask you,
Yeah,
because
I'm here.
you're a black dude.
Cool.
So do you find yourself in situations, and this is an ignorant question, I'm honestly curious about the answer, in situations where you have to defend your blackness, so to speak, in other situations where you have to prove your whiteness, depending on where you're at? Is that a constant struggle between the two?
Not for me, it isn't, because especially now, in fact, I always have been like that. I've always been quite clear and proud of being black. And I say proud because I get asked these sort of questions. Like, I remember someone said to me years ago, I can understand, black, but why black and proud? 'Cause I don't know if you guys know, but there's a term one time when everybody was saying, yeah, I'm black and proud. And
Yeah,
and they say, I don't say I'm white and proud. Why do you guys have to say you're black and proud? But the reason why we used to say, you don't say that as much now, but the reason why, because there was a time when a lot of black people were not only not proud to be black, but were ashamed of being black.
Yeah.
And then that term came along, black and proud, and some songs came out, and black people started to be more positive about who they are. But to answer your question is, no, I've never had to affirm who I am where I work, because I've always kept some element of who I am. And I'm always...
I know that's an ignorant question, but
No, that's not an ignorant question, because there are a lot of black people who have had to assimilate fully, and they probably have to explain themselves not to white people but to other black people.
And that's why I was
all right, but no, I've never had to, because to a large extent I've always been that guy who will ask the sort of questions I'm asking now. I don't run away from the subject. If someone asks me a question to do with race, I'll answer it, and it may not always be the answer that people would expect to hear. But if you ask me a question, and I've always been like that, I'll give you.
That's why this shit's important, right? Like, I'm not going to learn and expand my mindset or expand my view of the world if I'm not willing to listen to shit that you've been through and your experiences that I will never fucking have.
But
like, that's just part of growing as a fucking human being.
I think
and
that's
it boggles my mind that people that don't do that.
That's the problem with like the
listen to you 'cause you're
No, yeah, that's right. This light isn't doing me any justice. It's really painful.
I can see through you, dude.
I haven't been outside in 2 months. I've done COVID right here, right in my home. But that's the continuation of any sort of like racism or prejudice. It's these people who haven't left their like hometowns. And they sort of create this bubble of this thing to make this tribalistic bubble where they feel safe, and anybody outside of the bubble is the worst human ever. And like
that's my family. Describes my family perfectly.
Like you get anybody who's traveled, who's done any type of travel, and that prejudice and racism seems to fizzle out a little bit more. I think
But yeah, I think. If a black guy called me the N-word and he thinks that he's saying it from the right frame of mind, at the most I'll tell him that, you know what I mean, that's not really a term that I'm comfortable with you using. But I'm definitely not going to have a go at him because his mindset, he's not trying to have a go at me.
His intent is pure.
And again, the whole colored thing. I mean, growing up, that was the preferred term for my parents and their parents, or maybe I don't know if it's preferred or they knew, but that's the term they used. And black wasn't a term that they would have been comfortable with. And again, as I said before, you can argue. I mean, we're comfortable with black now as black people, but our skin isn't black.
Yeah, it's a weird.
We're comfortable with that term because, again, I'm not sure if we have any choice. That's the term that we use. We're not classed brown people. Indians are classed as brown people. We're classed as black people. So, So I guess I can either complain about it or just say, okay, that's how it is.
In the U.S., the progressives have come up with one term to encompass all people that aren't white, and they call them people of color. And they abbreviate it POC. And it's like,
but isn't that
which is an interesting thing to me? You said your parents, Andre's parents, were preferred colored, but eventually being called colored was not acceptable. And it was even 10 years ago, probably you'd have been corrected in the U.S. anyway. If you'd said colored people, you'd have been corrected. That's offensive. You shouldn't say that. Right.
Yeah.
now it's come back around. So now we don't say color people, we say people of color. What's the fucking difference?
What's interesting to be about that, it's both an acknowledgement of personhood, but and also a still continued separation between.
That's what I think. I think you just sort of grouped them all together, like all the people of color now, and grouped them together.
It's not white.
Like, all right, so like
use everyone that's not white, not just a certain.
It's worse.
But I also think it goes a step further, and it's an attempt to correct people that don't quote think correctly. Is a big thing part of
that's
it.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
Actually, I have another question for Andre.
That's the plight of the United States of American person.
That's right. Absolutely.
So
absurd.
a question, a very blunt question for Andre. So because you come from a completely different experience for the most part as a black man, do you view white people's viewpoints on race and reparations and things like that less valid than people outside, no matter how logically they're thought out, no matter what the conversation is it immediately less valid than another black man because of being white? And
the answer to that is no, because white people are just as important in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's not, if it was something strictly to do with black people and I asked you your opinion on it, then maybe your opinion would be less valid. But when we talk about stuff like reparations and equality, this is between black and white. So yes, for me, your response is as valid to me as a black person's response. I may not necessarily agree with it, but it's as important to me.
Yeah, I would respectfully, for you personally, I would respectfully disagree. To me, it's similar to, not that it's invalid, not saying that it's worthless, but it's kind of like, and again, they're separate things, they're not the same, but like the abortion debate and saying that men should have no fucking opinion on this because it's a woman's body. I get that that men's opinion is less valid because they're not experiencing the same fucking thing, but it doesn't mean there's not logical thought that goes into it that might be missed by another party. And that's kind of how I view this. I feel like you as a black man have much more to say because your experience is going to be, I can never understand your experience. I can never understand Easy's experience. I'm never going to get, well, I one time, but it wasn't the same thing. But like more than likely, I'm never going to get called a racially charged name when I walk down the street, right? So those are things I cannot understand. I can logically think through things, so that doesn't make my opinion invalid. But to me, your opinion holds more weight because of your experience and your background and the people, does that make sense?
It makes sense, but the reason why I say your opinion is as valid, because the reality is, and even though I don't even like to put it like this, the reality is that black people, and we're not demanding, maybe one day we will, but right now, black people are discussing or asking for reparations. And we're asking for reparations from white people. So the more people like yourself concur with that mindset, the bigger the chance of it happening.
Yeah.
So your view is very important, because if everyone of your skin color says, nah, rubbish, then the chances of it happening are going to be even less.
Okay. Well, I would argue then that my receptiveness is important, but not as much my opinion. Because if I'm receptive to hear you out and think through it logically and openly, then that's valid. But if I come at it initially with a completely opposing opinion, that doesn't fucking matter in my opinion, because it's wrong. And not that I think opinions can be wrong, or at least stupid.
Yeah, but if there's anything that black people learn, is that it's not even about right or wrong anymore. If it was, we would have been equal with you years ago. It's not about right or wrong, and it is about mindset and opinions. And right now, again, I keep saying it, we're talking about white people, but your opinion is important to black people because you're the majority, and until the majority of white people think the way black people do, or think along the same lines when it comes to equality for black people, until more white people do, then black people will always be second-class citizens.
You eloquent bastard. You push shit in the way all the time. I'm like, oh, okay, I got that. Fucking dude, thank you.
I've decided now, whenever you finally quit the podcast, I'm going to ask Andre to replace you.
You should be. He's but no, seriously, man, I appreciate that wording, because that's not the way I had looked at it, but that makes a lot of...
Again, that's why we're here. We're here. That's why we're here, man. We'll hear different views.
Hey,
different ideas, and that's what I love about.
do you guys
what
want
we do
to
here.
know anything about Australians? We're pretty cool too.
No, fuck you guys. You guys
we do some
and
stuff.
all of your ancestors are criminals. That's all. That's
Oh.
all we need to know.
Look at Josh's face. Although, hey Josh, I did read that the first police force, and I read this in
That was
Australia, was the best behaved criminals.
That's correct.
That's how they termed it.
That is correct. Yeah. So all the well
I didn't hear
behaved
that.
all the well behaved criminals were made the police. Yeah. Has it changed?
I like
Probably
Was he
not.
just saying that, or is that true?
That's legitimate. Yeah, it's super. It's
Right, I
very
didn't know
true.
if that was just some
Australia
sort of
has
line. Oh,
like
it's
a
true.
really fucked up like beginning. It's actually pretty horrible. But then it's also like it's ridiculous shit like that they're like, let's ship all these prisoners to a place and then let them kind of run it and just let them have at it so they figure it out. You know, it was who the fuck does that?
I will say though, in my experience, like Aussie girls in general are either just fucking gorgeous or oh Jesus Christ, what is that? It's kind of like they're kind of like gingers, right? Like redheaded girls are either like holy shit, she's really fucking hot, or oh God no. It's really
Oh, please.
What did Jim Jeffries, the comedian Jim Jeffries, say? He's like, Australians are fine, but like you never want to hear them in a sexual situation. Australian women, because they're all like, "Oh yeah,
it's
Going
crazy.
back, yes, Josh, I am interested in your opinion, like
Yeah.
legitimately.
No. Every time I travel, like, no matter where I am, there's always one Australian. You can hear them from any distance. Like this. Oh
Well, dude,
yeah.
you come here to the southeast. You come here to
I've
the southeast, you can fucking slay vagina like
Yeah.
all day.
oh yeah,
You
for
can,
sure."
Yeah.
it'd be ridiculous.
America's all right. I liked America. I had a good time there.
'Cause he cleaned up.
What part of America were you in?
I spent most of it in Portland. I was in a band and I was in a studio for 5 weeks. So I spent most of my time in Portland. Did
was
some
in a
San
band.
Francisco.
I would venture to say Josh would not like
Hi, Big
Portland
T.
anymore.
Or I could love it. You don't know what I do behind closed. No, what is happening? The only video that I saw of Portland was that guy he was like leaning on a bin or something and just shooting people with a handgun, and people were filming him, and he's some old dude, and he was just like leaning on the bin shooting guns. You guys really need to just stop with the gun bullshit. Just like you just need to fucking chill out. Go to your guns and just put them in the bin.
Yeah, that's too easy. That's too easy.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing about it, if we did that, all the homeless people would have guns at that point.
Lovely.
Maybe it's their time.
Well, so listen to Juxtaposition Debate. I think it was last week or the time before. I'm not sure, but we're talking about something in England, but you're saying it's very similar to the U.S. and guns, that you'll never be able to unring that bell. And that's probably true. You'd probably never be able to unring that bell here. But you know, I like guns, but I like guns because they're cool, not because I'm not this. You know, I have a single gun in the house that I would consider home protection. Everything else just because I like it. That's it. Most people say, "Well, it's because it's my right." Nah, right doesn't have anything to do with it. They're cool.
But
They're fun to shoot. That's the thing. That's it right there.
But here's the thing that's crazy. I have a couple guns. I believe by law I shouldn't fucking be able to own guns.
Well, by law, you
I
shouldn't
agree.
be able
Right,
to.
100%. But I can.
I can,
you know, because I can't make an exception for myself, right? Like if I have a mental illness that's professionally diagnosed, I shouldn't own firearms.
I'm pretty sure by law you're not allowed.
Right, but I mean it's from family.
But he's got it. Is what he's saying. Like by law, it's a gray area.
Right.
But he's got it.
I have them.
Which is
exactly.
Like I've been.
I don't understand. Like
hospitalized.
every time you have this chat with Americans, it's always the same. Like I shouldn't have them, but I got 15. Like,
Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
I refuse. Like I don't keep guns in the house. I never did, but my dad's getting older and he's about to pass. Nail State. He has like a big old like 40 acres in like Middle Tennessee, and he was like, "Well, I got some guns. I'm going to leave you anyway. I'm probably going to be dead soon, so I want you to come get them." And I was
You
like,
need
"Well,
more,
fuck,
yeah.
okay." So I came up and got them, but like I usually make it a point not to keep them in the house because I'm more of a danger to myself than other
All right.
people. But still,
as Americans,
So where'd you keep them then? Where can you keep them? If you're not gonna keep them in the house, where do you keep
yeah.
them?
guns usually in a gun safe, like in a garage or basement, or fucking in your kids under their bed.
My shotgun's in a closet in the hallway.
Okay.
Safe. Might need the
Well,
Right,
I
right,
don't
the
have
umbrellas.
young kids. Though. If I had young kids,
yeah.
if I had young kids, it wouldn't be kept loaded.
All right,
Yeah,
so
that was serious. Then the closet in the hallway wasn't a joke. It was serious.
yeah.
No,
No,
it's serious. It's
Oh, I thought it
it's
was a
for
joke.
no. I have a
What is a joke?
I have a single gun it's the shotgun. It's the home protection gun. It's in a closet.
I was like, a shotgun.
Is a home protection gun.
It is a shotgun.
But what?
It is a
What?
home protection
Hold up. What
gun.
gun isn't a home protection gun? Aren't they all
No,
home protection guns? Like,
There are plenty of assholes out there that will tell you that the 50 caliber rifle they got's for home protection. That's not for home protection. That's because you like to blow shit up from a mile away. A shotgun,
A
a
mile
12
away,
gauge shotgun, is the best home protection you can have in the United States. I mean, short of a security system. And I've got
What about just an alarm? I'm about to say an alarm system.
yeah, that's it.
That's what we got. Yeah, that works for us.
It works perfectly fine here too.
There
Like-
are plenty of break-ins in my area with alarm systems.
What happens
and
if-
it's just the way it is?
If tomorrow they're like, we're taking all your guns, what are you guys gonna do?
There would be another civil war. There would be.
You
I'm
reckon?
not saying I would fight in it, but in general, in the South, there would be another civil war. People that owned guns would not be willing to give
Well,
up
it's
their
kind
guns.
of like
But
that we've
who-
made our beds so we have to lie.
But
That's
who are you
for
gonna fight? The government? Don't they have?
Well,
bigger guns?
here's the way most people think. I don't know if this is true or not, but most people think that the majority of the soldiers would side with the civilians.
No.
I don't know if it's true or not.
I-
but
I-
they
it's
think
not where
that the
they
majority
side,
of the
it's
soldiers would
Like,
side
regardless of
would
who
side
the
with
side is
civilians
on,
and not.
didn't America wipe out like tens of thousands of people with one bomb in Japan? That
Sure.
like,
And
you can shoot at that
and-
thing
and
all you
again,
want, but it doesn't fucking
not
matter,
saying-
man.
I'm not saying this is how it would go, but the majority of people that I talk to that are super pro gun and would fight to the death for their right, because
Wow.
I'm not one
Isn't
of
that
those. I'm not going to
crazy?
fight to the death for my right to keep a gun. But
All right.
But the majority of those people feel that the majority of soldiers would side with the civilians that want to own guns, and that bomb would never be dropped.
That's
Whether it would or not, I don't know.
See, I was in the military for 9 years.
You were in the Coast Guard.
No.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
I'm saying, in any type of military, you hang out with the military
Sure.
members.
I was in God's army when I was a teenager, so
But I'm just saying, any Marine I know, any Army infantry I know, they will follow orders from their superior officers to a T. And if they tell them to fucking fire on civilians, they will fucking fire on
that's
civilians.
but that is slowly starting to change a little more. I've seen a lot more soldiers now that are willing to jump out of the military.
Yeah, they'll kick them out.
No. They're willing to make the choice to not abide by vaccination for
That came from that. But yeah,
right. So
but
I'm
they're getting
saying,
dishonorably discharged and will be treated like a felon the rest of their life. So
Yeah,
what,
I think
it
a lot
amazes
of-
me that if you join the army, that it can turn you into someone who would even do that.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. yeah,
like-
And that's one of the reasons why, as long as I've lived, I guess, but obviously been in England anyway, but I'd never entertained the idea of joining the army. But if that's something that is possible that could be asked of you, and you're somehow so indoctrinated into that group of people that you would do it, damn.
well, when you're an 18-year-old kid, think about how
Yeah.
fucking zealous or opinionated or bought into whatever your opinion, whether it's music or though, because most kids have like one thing they're tied into. And if you're told by these people, you're told are right, that this is the enemy, they're terrorists, they're trying to fucking circumvent everything that's right in the world. Like you believe that shit because these are the people you look up to and that you're a part of. And so it's not just being brainwashed. It's also it is being brainwashed, but it's at that point you're taught to believe that the people that you're fighting for what's right. And
Yeah, of
so
course.
is the organization above you. And this, again, you're a young kid. And your critical thinking skills are fucking garbage because you think, fucking Nickelback was one of the greatest bands of all time. So you come through and so then they're telling you these guys are enemies and they'll fucking straight lie. These guys have done this. They've committed these crimes. This is what the side they're on. It's no different than when they go to fight against another country. Right. The fact of the matter is two opposing forces. They both think they're fucking right or they wouldn't be
Exactly.
fighting.
That's why it's so stupid. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So you might could take a step back and say, well, these guys' ideals align a little more with like common morality than these guys' do. But at the end of the day, they both think they're right, and that's what they're fighting for. So if you feed somebody young enough that they're doing what the fuck is the right thing to do, especially in America where you can charge things with Jesus, and this is when we're on the side of God and the Lord, like the Crusades, you commit atrocities in the name of that shit. The American government has, they've unleashed syphilis on the black community here just to see what the fuck would happen. And ridiculous experiments on our own people. And people like to think, well, we wouldn't shoot our own fucking civilians. Well, like, fuck, we wouldn't, because we've done it for fucking years. And like half the coups and the military shit that's happened in other countries, we fucking started. We have caused more genocide in other countries than any other country, I would say, in the existence of humanity.
We're number one.
I'm just saying, like, we American military and government does not value human life.
No,
they value power, they value money, and they value control.
Yeah,
that's America in a fucking nutshell.
It's crazy how you guys still fight for this freedom thing. You know what I mean? It's like everything's based on this premise of freedom. And
that's it. But you're raised from that from the time you're a kid. The Pledge of Allegiance, the way you're taught in history.
The way you guys, every time they raise the flag or the national anthem, whatever it is, and you guys clutch in the breast, that stuff doesn't go on here.
Yeah, we don't do that shit.
The extent of the national anthem, I go to the college football games here on occasion. The extent of the national anthem is I will remove my hat.
Yeah, no.
That is the extent of it.
Respect.
No,
I'm not one to pledge allegiance to a flag.
We have
anything like that.
We have like a two-verse.
I'm glad I was born in the United States, but that's about the extent of it.
We have like a 2-verse song, and everywhere in Australia we'll only play the first verse because that's all we learned. You sing the first part, and then the second part kicks in. Everyone's like, yeah. No, it just fucking cut it there. Close enough is good enough.
There's nothing wrong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong in my opinion to appreciating the benefits of wherever you grew up, right? Because there's always positives. I shouldn't say always. Mostly there are positives, at least first world countries, in the environment that you grew up in. But that doesn't mean, like, I've never understood the fact, and I've gotten a lot of shit for this from family and friends in the past, that whole, like, my country's not the best fucking country. Like, there are better ways to fucking do shit than the way we do shit. I'm grateful for some of the opportunities that I have, but, God damn it, it'd be nice even now if I wasn't paying a fucking $1,500 a month so my fucking family can go to the doctor. My insurance bills is fucking insane. And like, that's stupid. It should not be that fucking expensive for my kids to get base healthcare. That's a major fucking issue.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, it's free.
Why you guys don't have healthcare? Like,
because it's privatized over there. I remember when I first got there, the first thing I noticed was like all the different ambulances. I was like, why do you guys have so many different ambulances? Because it's privatized. It's owned by private.
Half of the prisons are private.
Yeah, it's owned by, but that's when you start to dig, and what, like, because all of ours are the same here, because it's all owned by the government, and all the hospitals are the government. So when you privatize something,
that this is the greatest country, and this is what we've done.
Sure,
buy into that bullshit.
That's absolutely true. But the only issue that I have with a government-run healthcare system is that then the government has the power to tell you what is okay and not okay to treat, and I don't like that. That's my only beef with a private, with a government run.
That's not always true,
but it is.
Well, I'm assuming
they have the power.
Okay. I don't. You still have the choice. But Joey, you still have the choice to go private. So if you don't like whatever they've made, you can just go private. But it's about having the choice.
I understand that. Right. I just don't want the government to have that power at all, in any sense of the word. I want the government to have as little power as possible. I'm very much a small government person.
But I think that's a direct result of how America has progressed, as opposed to a country where the government has actually taken care of its people as a whole. And I think it's a very just different, like when we have a government that's completely like oppressed people groups and you see that shit. Yeah, I don't want the government telling me what the fuck to do. But if I'm in a country that the government has consistently taken care of its people,
sure.
Plus America being founded on capitalism, for us to transition to most forms of any even democratic socialism would fucking just bankrupt this fucking country because of how the foundations of how the country was built. And so there's some economic consideration outside of all the fucking crazy ass
but because of a want, because of the want and desire and fight for power, most of those other forms of government would never work here anyway, because even a democratic socialism,
But
somebody's
again,
going to be fighting for that
what I
power.
said earlier. The bed that we've made is what the fuck we're stuck in. Essentially, it's this cyclical. And I think there are some benefits to capitalism, but it's not the be all end all. Like, absolutely not. And that I know. Whatever. That was anyway. So sorry, guys.
Hey, you guys
went on a
done?
little fucking tangent there.
This American rant. It's such a
fight.
Yeah. I think it's like a crazy country. Like, I think it's like when you look at how you're saying that the loudest voice in the room is heard, like you can almost immediately go, that's America. Like, you know what I mean? Just loud and bold and very, it's not to say that you're not right or wrong, but I don't know. It's like,
I think Americans revel in that, don't they? I think
they love it.
They look at that as a negative.
Like,
yeah.
Back-to-back World War champs, boys.
I was going to say, don't you guys think you won World War II? Because you didn't. I think the Russians may have
back-to-back World War champs.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's funny to me.
Come in at the
I
end,
know,
score the
like,
last goal, and you're like, woo!
Well, I noticed, like, I made the joke earlier. Like, I noticed that I don't know, we tend to steamroll, like we talk our mouths off for this, and it's ridiculous. But honestly, when I travel, I try to shut my fucking mouth and listen. It's just, hey, look, I have a microphone, so listen to me fucking run my mouth. But,
oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, I don't. I fucking over talk everybody everywhere I go. The loud, obnoxious
that's
Australian.
not the dumb thing here in the UK, man. You talk to strangers, you get strange looks and stuff.
I
like
did.
That.
I found that
every time I go on holiday, and you talk to strangers, and when I come home, I remember before lockdown, I'd be at the bus stop in the morning or something, and I see a stranger, and I say morning, and they give you that look.
London was weird. So
home,
London was the only place where people weren't like super like open. It's like Sydney here. People don't want to talk to you. They got shit to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to waste their time talking to you. So the Sydney and London are the same, but everywhere else in the UK was fine.
Yeah.
What was that?
You go up north to like New York or whatever, and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, no one gives a shit. Like, don't ask. But in the South, if you don't say, "Hey, how you doing?" people get offended.
But weirdly enough, as a whole, people are more friendly in New York than I've experienced down here in the South.
Yeah, see, I have a completely different experience in other places.
No, what I mean by friendly,
it's
I mean
more genuine when you find a friendly person in the North.
Yeah,
but there's more friendly up front than the South.
See, one thing I like about how Andre does fucking business here is he shuts his fucking mouth and he listens for a chance to fucking tease somebody up in a goddamn, on the side. He just swings on that shit.
Yeah, what's going on first, and then make a move. Yeah, yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right, boys. I think I'm gonna have to call it. It's 1:30 a.m. here.
We've been rolling for 3 fucking hours, guys.
Is it 1:30 a.m. there, Josh? Oh
1:30
man,
a.m. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
But,
guys, hey, honest to God, I wouldn't mind doing this. Like, I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but like once every few months. Like, I love this shit. It's fucking
Yeah, as always, there's so much more I could have spoken about. So yeah,
Yeah,
as long as this is a regular thing, I don't mind when we do it.
I'm definitely keen for it,
Nice.
boys. Definitely keen for it.
Yeah. I will send you guys a link to the video file if you guys want to post it or anything like that, and then I'll also send you the link where we post it. So.
Yeah, and just to throw it out, and this is something I wanted to bring up because I feel like, especially with how we talk and shit, like neither one of us, at least I don't view this as like our like B3F show. Sure. Like I look at this as like Through the Heart is legitimately like a collaborative fucking show. So like I'm not opposed to any future fucking changes, any format, because I don't want it to be just fucking us. You know what I mean? Like hosting.
I think it's all
like,
good,
to me,
man.
this isn't all of it.
If
it's not broke,
I'm happy with how things are going.
I think it's good, man.
All right. Well, cool, man. Well, you guys have a great fucking night, day.
Yeah, Josh, have a good night. Andre, have a good evening. And
for sure.
Same to you, boys. All right, guys.
Well,
I'll talk to you guys soon, yeah?
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Mwah.
See ya.
See you guys later.
Tell Rox